like from someone who works at Reveal, like, do you guys encounter like some unique strategies for running cameras? And or like a side comment I would say on that is like, I've heard people literally say to my face, like, cell cameras don't help you kill deer. I'm like, that's 100% false.
You're
like,
not using them, right?
I've killed a lot of deer standing right in front of them. Like, HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Another year with Hoyt bows. I'm still in the aluminum. I'm shooting the AX3 this year. You're in the carbon.
RX10.
And again, man, Hoyt has just been so reliable for us year after year. Why would we go anywhere else?
Dude, I swear, they just keep making them better. You know, refining that Redworks model. And we had the honor and the privilege of getting these bows early this past season. So I think it was early November we got them in hand. Literally took it straight to the field, and I shot all 3 of my bucks last year with this RX10, and couldn't have been any happier with how it performed.
And they also keep getting simpler for us. This year we've got the XTS system from a tuning side, just a couple turns with the Allen wrench and shooting bullet holes through paper.
Get serious, get Hoyt.
And we're back.
Ew.
HUNTR Podcast, episode 327. I think we're online.
Yeah.
We're in line.
Yeah, we can count.
On the line.
Ish.
Kind of. Well, missing a finger.
Yeah, do you know what date it is, though? That's your next part.
I do know what date it is.
Okay.
It is July 9th.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, mid-July at this point.
Yeah,
listening to this.
Getting there.
Crazy.
Turning the leaf on fall plots is what I'm sensing here.
Putting inches of antler on fast right now.
And all of a sudden, I went like 2 or 3 weeks of like not an antlered buck on camera, and then bam, all of a sudden, last night I had like 4 of them.
Did you catch that rain? That probably is what did it.
We did, but we've caught rains previous. I don't know how to explain that, but
still kind of off the mineral lick side of things.
Yeah, one of those 3-year-olds was on a mineral last night. The other ones were just on the corner of an ag. They're there. It's just the nature of, I think running cameras this time of year is, they're especially in bachelor groups of bucks, is like if you're not right on them.
Yeah, they're not moving.
Which all my cameras are more in like I'm expecting them to transition into those areas. So just is what it is. We see them with our eyes, and that's plenty for me. So
yep, do your part.
In the meantime, I'll thank everybody for listening. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Those are the 3 main platforms that we drop these episodes on, and we do that every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the 2 platforms that we check the most frequently and do try to get back to you guys on. So thank you for reaching out. We'll continue to try to work on that. In the meantime, we have some HUNTR merch on the website. You guys can always check that out. We appreciate you. A lot of you guys have bought that stuff in the past. That supports us and Nick as he continues to angle towards an engagement ring here at some point, I think. And
she doesn't listen, so we're allowed to say that.
She probably does. But in the meantime, you guys can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some shape or form. A few variations on that. If you guys struggle with it, just write us on Instagram there, and we'll figure that out. So other than that, here we go. In studio.
Yeah,
there you go. You can do it.
In studio guest, Gregg Farrell.
Yeah, welcome, Greg.
Thanks for having me.
You can speak
Appreciate
now.
it.
Yeah, well,
you're allowed to talk now.
Timeout is over.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever officially figured out the best. It's just, hey, sit in silence here for 2 minutes while we do that.
No, it's good. Get warmed up, let you guys kind of kick it off, and then
It's usually worse for the people remote because we'll start into some topic or discussion and they're like ready to go and they're on mute. They can't say anything.
Yeah.
So like, hey, did you forget about me?
Yeah. At least you're here, so you could interject.
You have the ability, if you wanted to, you could disobey and you could just chime in and we could go from there. But those guys are.
You're like, actually, it's 3:28. And you're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So, welcome, Greg.
Thank you. No, appreciate you guys having
me. From
This
Montana.
Yeah, all the way from Montana.
Yeah, pretty cool that you jumped on a plane here and flew out. We appreciate that. We always ask, but never require. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, it's I understand it's a lot to travel and it's a busy time of season and stuff, but this is a new relationship. So in your position, we'll clarify here, but you're with Tactacam, and which is a new relationship for us this year. And so it means a lot that you jumped on a plane and flew out here to kind of kick this thing off with us.
Yeah, we're pumped to work with you guys. It's been fun starting to develop a relationship over the last year or so, kind of unofficially, and jump in officially. And yeah, we got some big stuff coming down the pipe that obviously, you guys are a part of too. So wanted to get over here and chat face to face.
Yeah.
Well, for clarification for us, Greg, and just everyone listen, like obviously, from a camera company side, it's Reveal, right? Are you guys still married to the Tactacam name, which I'm sure people listening understand, but Tactacam originally was like an action camera that mounted on your bow or your gun or whatever, right?
Correct.
Far before the trail camera side came along.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and frankly, it's on us. We have not done a good job of, I think, explaining
I hope I
this.
didn't mess it up out of the gate here.
No. We have employees that probably, maybe couldn't answer this question correctly. So, yeah, so you're 100% right. Tactacam started as a point of view camera. And really that came from this place of one of our founders went to school for photography, videography. He's a Western Wisconsin born and bred guy, big into hunting. And right after he graduated college, he had killed this great buck, and he went to talk to his grandpa about it. And his grandpa's like, well, you got it on film? He's like, no. And he's like, didn't you just graduate college for film school, and you don't have this hunt on film? And that was really the kind of ideation point for him of like, okay, why don't people film hunts? Well, unless you're really familiar with camera gear, right, and can run a camera or have somebody run one for you, like at that point in time, it wasn't necessarily an easy thing to do. So he's like, all right, can we actually build a product that makes it super easy for the average person who is not a camera expert to capture their films? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that was the original Tactacam. You can mount it on your bow, your rifle, your shotgun, etc. From there, that product took off and really started to grow. And right around 2000, well, it came out 2019, 2020. But leading up to that,
that recently.
The Reveals did, yeah.
Oh, the Reveals, okay.
Reveal
not the original Tactacam.
2013 was the original Tactacam.
Okay, yeah, that sounds right.
Yep. So kind of leading up to that 2020-ish time frame, our founders, all big hunters, were having the same issues. Like cell cameras kept like getting more and more popular, but they just weren't really pumped with anything that was on the market. And they're like, hey, we have this tiny little camera that takes great photos and video. Like, are we 50% of the way there to building a cell camera? Like, can we just take this and apply it to a different form factor and do the things that none of these other cameras do that we want them to do? And that's what Reveal was born out of. Was that idea of like, can we take this action camera, turn it into a cell camera? And it was interesting. Like I was not working for the company this time, but I remember this. That first Reveal came out, and it was like $150 or something, sub $150. And I had the same reaction I think a lot of people did of like,
no way.
There's no way this thing is good.
Yeah, because at that time we were in the age of cell cameras being 300 plus, pretty much.
Yeah, the low end was 300, right?
Yep.
Wow.
And then, sure enough, they did everything everybody wanted them to do, and took off like wildfire.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself in that that time frame, that frame of mind. Like I think our first cell camera was a covert.
Yeah,
it was the very first one we ever had.
And
right?
it would text pictures to
it would text you pictures.
Yeah, there was no app. It was like it would come from whatever, a random number.
And the signal was terrible. I had to run a giant antenna up the tree,
and the thumbs were awful. Like when you would get them, it was so pixelated. It was tough.
Yep. And then from there, I think we ran some Moultries for a while.
Okay.
Is that right?
The adapter ones. Remember the ones that have a separate unit that went into?
That's right. It was like an 888, like a regular, and then it would connect
to the modem.
To the mobile modem.
Yep.
And I kicked more of those things off of riverbanks out of frustration over the years than ever. And I swore at that time, I was like, I'll never. And I'm sure they've come a long way with their, everybody has with their technology and stuff. But
that was probably, I mean, I know for the first ones you talk about was when I was hunting this deer. So that was like 13, 14.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of following your guys' lead too. So Jeremy's like 9 years older than I am too. So you and Steve were like,
and Steve was the technology
leading the charge.
Guy.
Yeah, and Steve was a technology guy. So I was like, what camera do you use here?
Yeah. And so it was just kind of fun. But to that point, I remember at some point, probably when we talk about that Reveal time frame. Yeah, I remember a lot of cameras $400-$500 for a cell cam, which is hard for people to imagine today. But I would assume, like from the Reveal side, the foundation from a business mindset was like, if we can build a quality camera that's cheap, there's a recurring revenue opportunity in the monthly subscription side of things.
Yep.
Right. That's the software as a solution game. Is like, if I can build monthly recurring revenue, that trumps a single purchase profit every time.
Well, and technology inherently is frustrating.
Yeah,
right. And I don't care if you're talking about podcast setup, your laptop, a cellular camera. If you're not intimately familiar with it, it can be super frustrating. And that's always been kind of the pillar of Reveal, is like, how do we make something that's super reliable, really easy to use? And then if you do have an issue, we make sure we take care of you, right? So it's like, we have I'm not joking, we have 250 plus customer service agents that work for us.
Insane.
Well, you call us, you get somebody on the phone, and that's the person that takes care of you all the way through, whether it's fixing your issue or sending you a new camera. So I think that's the thing that's really allowed us to kind of propel ourselves into the situation we're in the market, because it's technology. So
there will be issues.
To work.
Yeah. I think for us, we were really transparent with a lot of the listeners here in that we were with StealthCam before and had been for, 3 or 4 years probably, at least. And so when we made the jump over the last year, I think we had like a whole section of a podcast, which was basically like, why did we make the change, right? It was not a, financial sponsorship thing. It was a frustration of technology and assistance. Yeah. And so the two big things that we looked at is when we broke down the plans, they were more cost effective to be with Reveal. The camera quality seemed to be, from our initial experience, better than we had. And then the biggest thing was customer service. It was before, even being, not putting us on a pedestal, but like we had internal connections.
We knew
right?
the guy.
We knew the guy.
We should be able to get the answer from the guy, and it was like
it was tough.
And we love him. He's still a good friend, but it's like
and it was technology.
You gotta be able to get these
right?
answers,
it wasn't like that they necessarily were not willing to help. They for sure were. We could get them anytime. It was just it's technology, and things went wrong, and there was just a protocol of people to get an answer from.
And sometimes the answer doesn't exist.
Yeah,
we don't know.
We don't know.
It's a factory related issue, and it's hard to track that down sometimes.
Yeah. So and again, we know it's technology, but I think one of the biggest ones was like we went to Kansas to go and put cameras up remotely, right? We sectioned 3 days off to go, and it was like there was a 24-hour down period.
It's server issues
where they wouldn't connect, and I'm like, we're only here for 3 days. Like the cameras have to go out. I can't go and physically reset them, which has been hey, this is what you need to do several times, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah, not just at the time of setting them up. They have to work now until we kill something, right? Well,
that's the whole point of a cell camera.
Yeah, right? That is the point of a cell camera. How many times have I said that, Jeremy?
So that you do not have to physically be there to A, get pictures from it, right? Or B, do anything for exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, right? Because I've been here coming up on 3 years now, but I used Reveals before I started working here. I also used every other camera under under the sun. And the thing I kept going back to with the Reveals is they were the easiest to set up, and they frankly just worked. Like some of the other ones, it would take me a half a day to get the thing set up and downloaded to the app and firmware updated. And it's just like, it's a simple solution that's reliable. And that's what we want from a cell camera. It's the whole dang point.
Yeah. So one of the questions I have and thinking or talking about the technology side of things is this might have been some of the first Reveals that came out, but it was also, I know Spartan was in the boat, Reconyx was in the same. There was a point of time there where it wasn't just me. There was a lot of people that were using cell cameras who, and I don't know how many people actually do it, but would go and check an SD card, and there'd be 4,000 pictures on the SD card, and meanwhile on the app we got 2,000 pictures. Right? Essentially, they didn't all send through, and there was advice around like, well, you're not using the right SD card. Very possible. The service wasn't good enough. So essentially, if you had it like on a multi-picture burst, like it was only being able to push so many pictures up before the next series came in. Like it was a conflict of command essentially. And, I think that in this latest round, since we've understood more about the Reveal cameras and kind of how they work in the different settings, like I don't think I've seen that at all at this point. But when things like that happen, it seems like Reveal is one of those companies that is definitely listening to customers, understanding. I assume that you guys have some sort of visibility into the data set even to be like, hey, this is or isn't a problem that's actually happening.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we can see the vast majority of that stuff on the back end, right? If we go in and look at somebody's camera who says that they're having issues. The biggest issue that probably led to exactly what you're talking about and I can't speak for other camera companies, right? Because I'm not inherently I don't know their technology as well, but 99% of the time what you're referencing is due to a connection, right? So when a camera takes a picture, it has to then, connect to the cellular network to send that picture.
Yep.
And most of these cameras have like a timeout, almost like a switch that goes off, where if that connection's not strong enough, there's an issue with it, it'll just stop trying because that burns battery extremely fast.
Yep, that makes sense.
So typically if there's a connection issue, that's where you're going to end up, or it's not a super strong signal. Now there could be a number of other things that contribute to it that are way more technical than that. But that's the other thing too that I've, and again, I know I sound biased. I'm sitting in a chair. I work for the company, right? But that's one of the things that I've really noticed about Reveals, both prior to my working for them and after, is that from a connection standpoint, they're just the strong, like, there's almost nowhere you can go where that camera doesn't connect. Like I have cameras in areas where I can't get a text out on my cell phone and that thing sends pictures just fine.
And is it because it's working to pick up different carriers?
Yeah. So the way our cameras work is it's called auto carrier selection or auto carrier connectivity. So when you flip that camera on, it's just going to start scanning. And it might grab Verizon. It might grab AT&T. It might grab, it's whoever the strongest signal is, that's who it connects to. So previously, and even with some of our older camera models, you would have to choose in the store.
Yeah,
right?
AT&T or Verizon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or then as cameras evolved, you wouldn't have to choose, but there was
Before
different.
that, you'd even go get like the SIM card for him.
Totally.
So we'll go to the Verizon store and say, I need a SIM card for this thing.
Yeah. They look at you like you had four
We
eyes.
did that.
They're like, what?
Yep. And then the next evolution of that was a single SIM card, but then you would have to choose the carrier on your app, right? Now we're at a point where you don't have to do any of that.
Which is crazy.
You just flip it on, it grabs the strongest signal. It's part of your monthly subscription plan. You might have 10 cameras on Verizon, 10 cameras on AT&T, 2 cameras on something else. It doesn't matter to you.
Is it, not to interrupt you there, but like obviously most of us know about the AT&T, Verizon, or let's say T-Mobile, but I know in some of these rural areas, like there's a US Cellular here, is there a limited number of carriers that it's looking for that there's relationships with, or
even those small areas who might be like a T-Mobile or US Cellular, typically that's a shared tower.
Gotcha.
So we are partners with all of the major tower, like the networks with the towers. So it really doesn't matter who the carrier is
because it's going through the tower side of things. Makes sense.
Is that the case, Greg? Like, do you know? I should probably know this, but like, are all towers shared?
I don't know about all of them.
Okay.
I can't speak to that. I'm not sure.
Okay. So, and it is just towers, right? Like there's no satellite involvement regarding signal for cell cameras.
Not
at
for
this
cellular.
Point.
No,
That would be a satellite camera,
Correct.
essentially,
Correct.
or a cell camera. So you have to be within some proximity to a camera that has this, the service provider that you guys have the relationship with. But there are, for sure, they're shared cameras or shared towers as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's the whole, I think that's the evolution that we've really seen in trail cameras is like, it used to be this thing where it's like, it was only valuable if you could get service.
Yeah.
There are fewer and fewer places now where you cannot get service, right? There's still some, right? Like, especially as you get west of the Mississippi and some of these really rural areas, like you'll find pockets where there's not cellular signal, but it's getting tougher and tougher to find those areas. And like I said, the amount of signal that camera needs to have quote unquote full signal for a camera, it's not the same as your cell phone. And I think that's a big misconception too, where it's like, okay, my phone doesn't work in this area. That doesn't necessarily mean the camera's not going to. Like I said, I have areas where I hunt a lot that I cannot get my phone to send a text, and I have a camera there that says I have 4 bars, and it never struggles to send photos.
That's interesting.
Help me visualize this, if you would. Like, do towers put out a signal, a frequency of some sort? In my mind, I'm imagining like a
radio wave. Think of
like a radio, and it has a certain distance.
Yep.
Do we know what is the distance roughly?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I'm not going to pretend to. And I'm sure it varies tower to tower.
Sure.
Right. Like,
from a suitability standpoint, from its, especially probably with topography and terrain.
Yeah. Okay. And then and that's why, like, on the top of a hill, you would have signal, and then you go down in a valley and you
think of like a point to point
line
type
of sight
thing.
Yeah.
And the cameras, I imagine, also have some sort of a range, probably much smaller than a tower, right? Or is it just, hey, it has to be within the realm of the cell signal?
Yeah, it has to be within the realm of the cell signal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's just, the antenna.
Probably no different than your phone.
Yep.
Right.
Would you say that and I mean, I know you gave the example, but in generality, like, obviously this doesn't have an exposed antenna, right? That's like sticking up, trying to camera does,
Yep.
does that mean that it probably is better at picking up
Yep,
signal?
exactly. So that's why, that's part of it. But that's
Sounds
why
like a stupid question, but
no, you're 100% right. Or like we sell an extended range antenna, right, which allows you to put that antenna up even higher and can collect less signal in a stronger fashion. So there's ways you can hack the system.
interesting.
Right. And it's just how much of that cellular signal can that camera grab onto in the area it is.
Interesting.
So let me ask you this, because I have my Ohio farm.
We're expecting all these cellular data questions.
Or
They're
were
real
you?
technical real fast, you guys. Yeah, you're killing it.
So, one of my farms in southern Ohio is a classic case of like, I go up on the high points, I have signal, I go down into the creek bottoms where my food plots are, I don't. At least on my phone. So obviously if I'm out there in the field trying to set up the camera, I can't access the app because I don't have signal on my phone. If I set that up at the cabin where I have Wi-Fi and then take the camera out and place it in there, when I turn it on, is it going to... Like, is it looking for signal there, or was it already trying to connect to signal where I was?
So it would have connected to signal where you were
Yep.
when you first set it up,
Yep.
and then it'll reconnect to signal where you put it.
So it's going to look for something.
Correct.
I think the answer to that is activate it at home where your app works. That's what you do. Just stage everything up, be ready to go. Shut them off.
Yep.
Go out to your location, turn it on. It'll find the appropriate signal. Your app doesn't need to work there
'Cause I think-
it'll reconnect once you get back to where
I
you
say
have
that
it.
because a lot of those older cameras where you had to pick AT&T or Verizon, or it would, like, if you set it up at home in Verizon and then you took it to a spot that really needed AT&T, you were screwed.
Yep, not an issue anymore.
Not
It'll
an
just
issue
connect.
anymore.
And I always suggest people do exactly what you just said. Set them up at home, because here's the other reason that you want to do that. You're going to have a strong signal there. And a lot of times what's really cool about these new cameras is we do over-the-air firmware updates. So I'm sure when you guys had issues with cameras in the past, a lot of times this is what you're told. Hey, take an SD card, download this new firmware on it, go to the camera, put it in there, and then upload it, right?
Yeah.
That's not, just like your phone, you get a notification on your phone now, it's like, hey, new software is available, or new firmware update. Over the air, right? Yeah. Cameras do the same thing. So almost like a Tesla or a Rivian, like all these new like EVs, right? You essentially you buy that vehicle, but they can update that vehicle software every 6 months, every year. So you essentially have the new model, even though you have one that's a couple years. We do the exact same thing with cameras. So if that camera's been sitting on the shelf somewhere for even maybe 6 months, there's very likely a firmware update that we've done that will automatically download on that camera. That's why you want to do that. Like, do that at home. Do that in a place where you have a good signal. Do that in a place where if you need to, right, you can charge batteries, whatever. So then the camera's good to go. It's already connected to your app. You already have connection to it via the app to the camera, right? And then you go put it out. It's going to reconnect to whatever signal is strongest there, and you're up and running.
Cool.
Are you guys, would you say a competitive advantage of Reveal and of your team, like as far as software goes? Like, you mentioned earlier about hacking different ways to like improve battery usage. So like it seems like there's processes internally that require battery of a certain level.
100%.
And you guys are actively trying to, like, as each new model comes out, figure out what's taking a lot of battery life and improve on those processes?
100%.
Okay.
So like, I'm sure we'll get into the new cameras today, the 4.0s, but that was one of the benchmarks for that camera. It's like, we don't want to increase battery life by 15% or 50%. It's like 100% improvement minimum. What do we need to do to get there, right? And like,
that's a tall task.
You joke, right? People are like, oh, it's not rocket science. Like,
is that on you, or is that
no? This is so far. Like,
Greg, you gotta figure this out.
I'm not an engineer.
You're the guy who says 100% minimum.
Yeah, exactly. No, but like we literally went out and hired engineers who developed power systems for rockets or cars or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, these are potentially some of the smartest people that exist with regards to power consumption and power systems. Like, let's let them design the power system for the camera. Right. So a lot of it comes down to efficiency, right? Because a camera is out there 365 days a year potentially. It only needs to do the things that it needs to do when it's taking a picture.
Sure.
So what can you do in the off periods, right, to reduce the amount of power that it uses during those quote unquote sleep times?
Yeah.
That's going to have the biggest impact on what the true battery life of a camera is. The processes that it has to go through to take a picture or a video and send it to you, you're fairly limited there. Now, there's things you can do to improve it, but that's always going to be your bottleneck, right? Because that's the highest energy consumption thing that camera will do. So we can improve those, and we always work to, but a lot of it is like, what do you do in the other times, right? So that it's not sucking as much power during the times when it's not taking those photos or videos.
Can you speak to any of those like downtime processes? Like I can imagine that searching for signal would be a big consumption of power. Is that one of them? Are there others that are like, hey, this we got to figure out?
Yep. So searching for signal is a big one. We kind of, in the engineers at my company are going to be rolling their eyes at me right now, but we kind of dumb it down as like sleep mode, right? Like what is it doing when it's in sleep mode? So there's basically this process of it going from sleep mode to becoming activated to take a photo or video. So
which isn't a matter of like milliseconds.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So you can't put the thing completely to sleep, right? Because it has to be able to activate itself that quickly.
Yep.
So where is that fine line of like, what is it doing or what is it not doing, right? In terms of processes, procedures, sucking power, et cetera, during that off time. And then how quickly can it activate itself when it needs to?
Yep.
You know, the ins and outs and engineering side of that, I'm not going to pretend that I understand or get into, but that's kind of the secret sauce, right?
That's the efficiency side of things.
Exactly.
Essentially, I mean, and again, so yeah, none of us are engineers, so we'll just talk like brashly about it here or whatever. But like essentially all it has to be doing during that like sleep mode period is monitoring for movement, right? Like it doesn't have to be acquiring signal at that time, assuming it's done sending whatever pictures it's taken. It just literally has to be waiting for something to move.
Yeah, and you're going to always want it connected to signal, right? Because otherwise, if it's not, you're going to run into issues like we had talked about earlier, where then it does take a picture, and if it's not connected and it tries to send, and then it has that error of not being able to send, then you don't get the photo.
Then you miss the photo.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah, and I would assume that comes with like the processor side of things and how that's improved in technology over the last 5 or 6 years as well. I would think that there's probably... because I mean, if you're thinking about the process itself, and I assume this is going to go back to the setting aspect of things, like, you know, you talk about single burst, delay, and then multiple bursts. Like if you think about those three things in a camera activity, like if it's on, let's just say single picture with a minute delay, well, shit, it can take the picture, process it, send it out, and it's still probably got time in between the next action.
Yep.
Per se.
Yep.
I would assume, unless we're on a feeder or maybe a mineral site at this point, most of us don't have our camera set that way.
Yep.
Right? We typically have it on multi-burst and or with a shorter delay on there.
Well, if we can, I mean, let's talk a little bit about settings, and maybe you can give us some advice on like the best way to use the cameras first of all, but maybe also maximize battery life or like get some other advantages out of them. I guess the best way I know to go into that is just say like what we're doing, which I assume is probably pretty similar, Jeremy. Like I think on a mineral or a bait station at this point in time, like on July 8th or 9th or whatever it is, like we're running some of those cameras on an attractant of some sort. Not a scrape, not a trail crossing, but like it's either a feeder or a mineral site. For me, I'm running those on a one picture, you know, not a burst, but it's taking one picture every minute.
Yep. I'd say that's probably accurate on mine too.
You know, on one hand, I've run them at 30 seconds, and I would enjoy maybe a couple different angles but I have my cameras out far enough in advance here that I'm like, I can afford to get, not as many pictures, and I'll figure out what this deer is over the course of the next, few months.
Yep.
And it's been, I mean, so far so good. Granted, I've only had those cameras out for 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
something I guess at this point, but like, as far as I can tell from the app, we're still cranking like 100% or very close to battery life. So that seems to be working.
Yep.
The only other, not to go too far down it, but the only other one I would say is like if it's on a trail or even a scrape this time of year, I'll run a 2-picture burst at 30 seconds.
So that's where my difference is I'm running still single picture, but I'm doing photo and video. Yep. So I'm catching a 10 or 15 second video.
I'm pretty virgin on the video side of things.
Which I've liked a lot because so like in the app, it doesn't show you the video necessarily. Like it took it, but you have to go in and then request the video from it. So like obviously if it's a squirrel, I'm not requesting that video.
That video for sure.
Yeah. But if it's, if I get 3 pictures of a buck, like I have one on a water hole right now. So if I get a buck that's coming into the water hole, even if that picture doesn't look great, like his head's turned, I'm like, oh, go get that video because I'm now going to have 15 seconds of him at that water hole to get a better view of it.
Okay.
And I did it a lot during turkey season because obviously whether they were strutting or gobbling, like that was a cool aspect to have of it.
The video is, I mean, that's like my new drug the last few
it's
years.
nuts,
like,
man.
you can get so much more information from a video than even a 5 or 7 burst, photo stream.
Okay.
But
so and you're more experienced with it than I am. Explain to me again how that works. Like, you're on 30 seconds still.
No, I'm on 15.
Okay, so 15
single
seconds.
picture and video. So photo, video.
You could do both.
Yep, you can do both with ours. So
Okay.
it takes a photo and you get the video.
And the video
And then-
looks like a second picture, like in the form of a in the form of a thumbnail,
It's exactly what he describes. So you can see your photo,
which is the thumbnail.
which
of
is the
video.
thumbnail,
I see.
right? And then
I'll hold it up to the camera and see.
yeah, if it's a doe that you don't care about or a squirrel or whatever.
So you're seeing
right?
the picture. This is the thumbnail of the video.
Exactly. And then if it's, say, a buck you're interested, right, then you can request that video, and then it'll send that video to you.
It's just a normal thumb.
Okay.
But if I click on it, it's just a normal picture.
Okay.
There is no video.
All right.
So then if I wanted to, I could click on the 3 dots, and then I could go to video request, and that's going to request the video.
And it has to be on that setting to
Correct.
do that, right?
Correct.
I can't just do that with any of my standard
No,
pictures.
you could only get a high res image
Right, yeah.
request.
It's not automatically taking video unless we
Correct.
set
You
it.
have to put it on that setting.
Is there any reason not to put it? I guess it takes slightly more battery to record the video.
Exactly.
Okay.
So even though it's not sending it to you, it's still recording that video, which is going to require more battery of the camera. So back to the whole like battery life thing. There's a couple things that you can do. And here's what I tell people. You should set your cameras up to be the best tool for you during the time of year. So for example, you just described early season. You probably don't need a 7-shot burst, right?
Right.
You probably, maybe you don't even
Just
need photo and
good
video.
inventory. I
Exactly.
don't care about as much why or where, just what.
And so personally for me, like early season, I'm always putting all my cameras on settings that will give me the longest battery life.
Yeah.
As the season progresses, I'm going towards, I want as much information as I can possibly get from every single photo or video I get, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Really good video.
That's killer.
So that's from a photo. That's going into a mineral lick. So if I would have got the photo, he wouldn't have been on the mineral lick. But instead, I got the video, so now I see him walking and then even coming up
I'm
closer.
going to have to change a couple of mine. Okay.
Well, in the video too, it's like you see where they came from, you
Yep.
see what they do when they're in frame, and you see where they go.
And how they're reacting to the entire
Exactly.
situation.
Yep. Are they on edge? Are they calm? Are they like,
Yeah.
you just get so much more information. So anyways, on the photo side, right, you got a couple of options. You can do single photo. You can do photo bursts. So depending on the camera model, you could do 3-shot burst, 5-shot burst, potentially more than that, right? Or you can do photo plus video, which is exactly what we've been talking about now. That's kind of the order of which will take the most battery. So the least amount of battery, single photo. Kind of intermediate battery is photo burst. The most battery consumption is photo plus video. The other thing that really determines battery life is how often those things are getting sent to you, right? So when you go in your settings, you can choose, hey, I want those instantly sent to me, meaning that every time it either takes a photo or video, you automatically get it. There's a hybrid, which is like when the camera checks in or when you request
periodic.
periodic, right? And then there's like once a day. So again, that goes from, we did it the opposite there. So once a day is obviously going to require the least amount of battery. Instant is the most. So those are the two things you can control like on your own
From
right?
a battery efficiency
From a battery
side.
efficiency side. The other thing that impacts battery efficiency more than probably either of those is signal. So the stronger the signal is, the less the camera has to search for signal, the less battery it's going to use. The weaker the signal is, the more battery it's going to use. So the combination of those three things are really what's going to determine your battery life. And I think that's where, a lot of people maybe don't understand those things, right? Or haven't ever been taught like, oh, you can actually impact or affect battery life by changing these. So if you're just going with the standard settings that come on the camera, or maybe you are, it's like, hey, I want my videos, I want photo, it's like, you're going to have decreased battery life.
Yeah, but if you're in good service, you might be able to get away with
Totally,
that, right?
totally.
But if you're in poor service, you're going to end up going and replacing batteries on that camera.
And if it's end of October or November, like, I don't care.
Exactly.
I want as
Just
much information
pump it
as I
out.
possibly. Yeah, exactly. Where if
So-
it's July,
I think that's a good point, because like what I've got in some of these areas in Ohio that I don't have good service is right now it's July. It's over a clover plot or over a mineral lick. Like I'm getting a picture every minute or 30 seconds, right? As we get closer to the season, or I'm getting a pattern closer to the season, I might change that to either more frequency of pictures and or the picture, because at that point I'm trying to kill that deer.
Yep.
I'm not worried about having that thing last for 3 more months. I'm worried about it giving me all the info I can get in the next 2 or 3 weeks when I'm going to go try to kill that deer.
Well, and when you're not in season, just have it send the photos once.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't need them in real time.
Yeah, who cares? Because you can't
You know
go
who
hunt
you're talking to here?
Yeah. Well, no, and then the problem is too, like, you get those delivered once a day, and then that's the next hour, hour and a half of your day.
Yes.
But that's like one of the things I suggest to everybody. It's like, until season opens, just have the camera.
What am I supposed to do at 3 a.m. when I wake up and like?
You think that's a fairly, at least a notable savings on battery life
for
doing
sure.
that?
For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
That's right, man. Predator Camo. We've been rocking that stuff for, a little over 10 years, a full decade now. It's kind of hard to believe, but we stepped away, a year or two, tried some different stuff over the years, but at the end of it, we always come back to Predator Camo.
Yeah, and I mean, even in reflecting back on this season, like I started off the season in spring green, killed that elk. You killed all 3 of your bucks, I think, in the fall brown, which has kind of made its return back to the lineup. And yeah, it's been dependable, and it's funny when you know that you're in a stand and the deer is looking at you, but it's looking through you. It's a completely different feeling.
They have some new stuff. So, they went through an ownership change a couple of years ago and had the opportunity to give them some feedback. And I think we're getting ready to see the results of all of that coming out this July in some all-new apparel lines.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were able to see it at ATA. I know some of you guys might have been able to see it at some other shows, but it's awesome. And anyone listening to this, when it goes live in July, can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, and use that for a discount on Predator Camo, as well as during the spring here. If you're looking for turkey stuff and want to get spring green, same discount code on PredatorCamo.com.
Don't blend in, break out. What do you think about like the indicators that it gives you on the apps? Like, I'm just looking at my cameras here. I was just curious. The signal kind of is what it is. I need the camera where it is, and I'm gonna have to live with the fact that it may, the service is what it is there, and it may impact battery life. So like on the app here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bars.
Yep,
would be like full signal.
Correct.
Is there a certain cutoff there where you're like, I mean, obviously 4 is the best, but like any less than 3 is like, just don't even try it, or the battery life is not going to be worth it to leave it there, kind of a thing.
Put the camera where you need it. That's my suggestion to everybody. Like, this is a tool that's supposed to help you.
Yeah.
There's other things you can do. Like, let's say you have to put the camera in an area where there's only 2 bars.
Okay.
There's supplemental things you can do with accessories like solar panels or lithium battery packs where you can override the fact that it's in bad signal in terms of power.
Okay.
If you don't have a camera where you need it, then like you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Sure.
Right? But I mean, pull that back up.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any that are less than 3 bars?
No.
Yeah.
There's this one here, but I have this off. Everything is 3 bars or better.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And in, dude, Illinois, we're 4 bars like across the board, which is cool. So.
That's the benefit of working for Tactacam. I have a lot of cameras out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the last time I had a camera less than 3 bars.
Yeah.
Like
you said, there's signal pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
I do have one with 2.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. And it's where I would expect, like, I can't get a text message out.
Yeah.
But I get pictures from it.
Yeah.
Like, so.
What is this last guy here? How many hours it's indicating?
That depends on how you have your check-in settings.
So it's telling me the last time it checked in.
Depending on what the settings are, it's going to tell you something different. But most of the time, that's going to be the last time that camera is active or checked in.
Okay. Yeah. Here's what you may or may not know. We've heard in the past, so all of my cameras that I've put out here in the last couple of weeks say 100% battery life, or they say external. They're plugged into a solar panel.
Yep.
I've heard that there's issues with tracking true life of a lithium battery as opposed to alkaline batteries. Is there any truth to that?
There is truth to that, and that's one of the reasons why on our cameras too, you can choose what the power source is.
Yep.
Because it'll track it differently if it's a lithium than if it's an alkaline.
So I may make a point of, I don't know what it does, but I assumed it was something relating to that.
Yep. And then the other thing that's tough with lithiums too is because of the way that battery works, and again, I can't explain the technical engineering side of it. I'm just regurgitating what I've been told from the people that are way smarter than me. There is the situation you'll have with alkalines is they'll drain. You'll get to a point where it's somewhere in that 30 to 20%, and then they just stop.
Dies. Yeah.
And that has to do with the inability of the the way that the camera is able to read that battery drainage, once it gets to a certain point, it's no longer as accurate as when it's 100% or 80% or whatever.
Dude, batteries are such a weird thing. Like, if you actually stop and think about, like, what is it, using the juice out of them? Like, it's a bizarre concept.
Well, and here's the other thing that's really crazy too is we test a ton of batteries because obviously like we're testing a ton of cameras. If you go buy a pack of, say, 12 lithium batteries, it's not uncommon for 2 or 3 of those to be duds. Like, completely do not work.
Wow.
I've done that too.
So if you're not testing any individual battery and you say...
Which most aren't.
No, nobody does, right?
Yeah.
And you put 12 of those batteries in your camera, if 3 of those happen to be duds, like your quote-unquote 100% is not 100%.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask. Maybe all lithium batteries are created equal. I don't know. We've always used Energizer AA lithiums. Like, that's just been our go-to. They're not cheap.
No.
Right? They're expensive.
Freaking expensive. It's like $1.80 a thing, or $1.30 or something.
Like, I would say in the past, we probably spend no less than $1,200 to $1,500 a year on batteries.
Oh, dude, yeah, easily.
So obviously,
you bump them numbers up.
Reveal has rookie numbers. Reveal obviously is selling a lot of the lithium packs, right? And so I think a lot of our discussion has been just because of past experiences with poor packs. Is like, seems smart that we would just charge this pack. I think it's advertised as being, X number of AA lithium batteries versus going and, just buying over and over and over again disposable type batteries.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's unless you're getting free AA batteries, the economics never work out to buy AA's versus lithium packs. And here's why. Our QC testing on our lithium batteries is way higher than that of any AA you're ever going to buy. So you're not going to run into that situation where you have 2 or 3 duds in a 12 pack, right? So you're going to get a super high quality lithium. And to your point, like, we don't make these numbers up, right?
Yeah.
Like a 5,000 milliamp hour lithium battery pack will replace upwards of 1,000 lithium batteries over the same period of time, right, that you're running that camera. So a 5,000 milliamp hour battery pack from us is $50, right? $60.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're paying...
That's the cost of like 2 16 packs of batteries.
$32 per 24 pack of lithiums.
Exactly. So from an economic standpoint, even if you take the performance out of it, the cheapest thing you can do is buy a lithium battery pack for every camera you have, and then buy a couple extra so that when they get low, you just swap them.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say the rechargeable is
the
the other thing. Like these AA lithiums from Energizer, I have literally a 5-gallon bucket of dead ones.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what do I do with these?
Totally. Totally. So, yeah, I mean...
You don't just throw them away?
I do at some point, but I don't know. I'm kind of weird about that. Like, not good for the environment.
Throwing them away.
Yeah, throwing lithium batteries.
Are you not supposed to?
I mean, I think you are. I mean, I don't know what else you do with them. There are certain, like, days that they take batteries and things like that.
Oh.
Yeah, you can recycle them, but
yeah,
I don't know
what they do with them.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not good to be putting in landfills.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and then you add the performance standpoint on top of it, knowing that you're not getting those duds, right? And it's a high quality. Like, not all lithium is created equal, right?
It seemed too common sense. That's why I asked the question.
No, you're 100% right.
Do we have one in here?
They are newer too, right? Like the technology of as far as like lithium battery packs being sold with cameras, like that's within the past couple of years, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting more and more prevalent. That's one, the top box there. Yeah.
So we have it as like that's one. Is this one of the new ones?
One of the new ones.
Okay.
Which
Can
there's
you read it, Jared? Flex Pack R5.
There's some really cool stuff with this in the new camera.
5,000. You called that a milliamp?
Yep.
Lithium battery.
So that's the scale.
And so what does that replace?
1,000 AA batteries.
1,000 AA
Holy
batteries.
shit.
Pairs with Reveal 4,
That's insane.
4.0.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I mean, again, it seems like a common sense thing, but it's almost too hard to believe because of what we've been doing with AA lithiums. I mean, we're paying $32 for 24 AA lithiums.
I've known that for a long time. I've known that we're throwing money down the drain. I just wanted to feel confident in a lithium pack like this.
And I take it from me, talk to somebody else, I don't care. I know for a fact that like I said, the QC testing on these batteries versus that of a AA.
Quality control?
Yes.
Yeah.
Way better.
Why would you buy batteries?
Well, you wouldn't. I think it's just that these are newer. Like I said,
well, they had packs before, right? Because I mean, our cameras, our 3.0s run off of a lithium pack.
Yeah, we've had lithium packs since Gen 1, Gen 2s.
How does it go with, and maybe it's just like hearsay, I've had issues or heard of issues with guys charging lithium packs like this with different types of cables, different types of blocks or whatever.
Yep.
What's the deal with that?
Yeah, so it's a great question, a great point. Not all of those, I think we call them wall warts, right? It's like the thing that actually goes into the wall. They're not all created equal, right? Like if you go buy one for 99 cents at a gas station, you're very likely going to get very poor performance out of that thing.
It's because they're rated for what different amperages or whatever.
Correct, exactly. So that's part of it. The other part of it too is that you just like, and this is going to be a great transition to 4.0s because there's a bunch of cool stuff with these batteries.
I was going to say, I didn't realize this is how it...
The whole bottom half of the camera.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That's a whole new like form factor change, which there's a ton of advantages
changes.
By the way, 4.0s just came out on the 16th. I think this episode
get into
dropping
There's
a
one
few
in
days
here.
out.
There's
We'll
one
get
in
into
here.
this.
The other part of it too is overcharging and storage. So if you have a boat or an RV and you run lithiums on it, there's a very like precise procedure that you use when you charge those things, how you store them over the winter, etc. People don't think about that when it's this small little thing.
Yeah, trickle
So
chargers.
Overcharging is a big deal. You don't want to overcharge. Like if you leave that thing on a charger for 2 weeks, right, it's going to decrease the lifetime of that battery and the efficiency of it.
I had convinced myself that all like good chargers at this point are essentially like have some sort of trickle feature where they can figure out where it's topped off and it just shuts off.
Yeah,
it's not true.
Not the case. So, and again, like
that's why my phone battery keeps going down in it because I charge the crap out of it with my Mac charger because it goes so fast.
Yep.
But then I leave it on there overnight, and so it's dwindling. Life is dwindling.
Not that you have to baby them, right? But it's just like there's a little bit of common sense. Like don't leave it on there for a couple days. Like once it's charged, take it off. You know, over the winter, that's another thing like too that we suggest too. If you're going to store these things, especially on like metal shelves or where it's cold, just give them a charge before you put them away for the winter and get them to at least like 75-80%. That'll extend the lifetime of the battery. Again, if you don't do it, it's not going to ruin the battery, but there's these little things you can do to extend the lifetime and the overall power output over time of that battery. So that would honestly be the only reason to maybe not do it, right? Is if you don't want to have to pay attention to some of like the battery hygiene
the cost savings
stuff.
Is undeniable. I mean,
exactly,
it's worth it.
Exactly.
Do you guys sell the appropriate cables and charging blocks to go with these?
So it doesn't come with them, but in every single one of these, there's a quick start guide that comes with it, and it'll tell you exactly what to get. Okay. A lot of times you already have it. So, for example, like
throw that over here, Jeremy.
Your Samsung phone or your iPhone, those are going to come with high quality chargers. Right. So if you're using that as your connection to the wall, like if it's from the factory, if it's OEM, if you bought it on Amazon or at a gas station, So
we're in the box because we still got to make a video for you guys here. So
because I'm still trying to convince myself, if you were like Jared and I and you bought Energizer AA lithiums, that's $1,300 in comparison.
Correct.
Let's just do a ballpark. I probably buy 4 to 5 of those packs in a year.
The full case of 18
cases.
What is there, like 7 or 8?
10.
8. So there's 180 batteries.
Yep.
And it's $500 or $600.
I think it's 10. I think it's 10. And it's. I mean, every time I buy one of those, it's like $400.
Yeah, and it's 18 batteries per pack.
You'll more than pay for this in a single season.
You said that's $50.
Yeah. One of these. Is this the quick start guide here? I want to see if it says something about the amperage requirements or like so that we can quickly and easily go buy the correct charging stuff.
Yeah, and this is like an early.
I know.
So that one might
does
not
it
have the.
Well, so I mean, it comes with the charging cable.
The manuals, so there's a cable in there.
So you're specifically talking about the block to plug into?
Yeah, because the cable's with it, so you just have to get a block.
Correct. And if you don't want to go buy one, again, like the easiest like fail-safe way is if you have the one that came with your phone,
use that.
It's high quality.
I don't think my phone came with one either. They say, go buy one. Yeah. Nobody does that anymore. Yeah. Nobody, they don't want to, for whatever reason.
They're expensive.
Apple does.
Well, I wonder though, with something like that, can you get a big block to plug in like 8 or 10 cameras.
So
at a time.
that's the other thing I was going to suggest too. We sell a multi-charger where you can charge
Oh, there you go.
4 of those at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's what you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I have one from like Anchor or somebody that I have like when I charge my headlamp and like all my stuff together. But if you guys have one, then yes, buy that.
And that plugs into a wall, like a
Correct.
standard 110 outlet, and it
exactly
has enough power to do that. Okay,
Exactly.
well, we're going to
That's what you want.
We're going to need to get some of those.
We'll need 4 of those.
We're going to need 10 of those.
So these are the whole new system. We do not have a multi-charger for these yet, but our old previous lithiums
have the multi-charger.
Yeah, we have multi-charger for those. But I mean, you can read between the lines, right?
Sure.
We've done it before. We'll do
get
it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge piece. I mean,
game changer, dude.
yeah, and I'm just trying to think, again, you guys have had it. I know other camera companies have put, lithium packs out there. And I would assume there's a big market for it. But for some reason, there definitely still feels like there's a lot of people who are just like, I don't know if it's the comfortability with just standard AA's or lithium AA's.
Or maybe it's just us. I don't know. Like we've
No,
gotten the
I
habit
would
of doing it.
assume
When
that
I go
they're-
to Sam's Club, I buy the things. Like we write, it is what it is.
I think it's also a convenience thing, right? It's
Probably.
like, you can stop at the gas station on the way to the lease or the farm and grab batteries, right? You have to plan ahead to have these.
And you have to have them charged. Like you need to
You
have some
also
backups ready to go.
There is a cost, even though overall it's going to be a savings, you have to have probably 2 per camera, right? So you're going to have one in the camera and then have one to swap out.
You probably don't quite need 2 per camera because you're not going to be swapping
At
every
some
battery
point,
every
yeah,
time.
there's a-
So what I suggest is have 1 per camera, and then depending on the number of cameras, just have a couple extra.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, so if you had 10 cameras and you had 13 of those,
Exactly.
like you're in good shape.
Exactly.
That's the ratio.
We're
Recommended.
going to
Highly
have to
recommended.
do that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So, well, do we want to talk about like the configuration? Because the first thing I noticed when I picked that up, to your point, you're like, that's the whole bottom part of the camera. That's a complete mold change.
Yeah.
Do you want to just go into the point 4 stuff here?
Can we pull it out of
go
here?
ahead, Jeremy.
It'll be easier to show. I'm ruining your unboxing. Sorry.
We'll blame Kevin or we'll blame you when Kevin asks.
I know a guy. We can get you another one.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we'll be fine. So this camera that I'm opening here has a bottom piece to it, but is not the flex pack.
Correct. So
That's going to be your
4.0
standard
cameras.
Yep.
One of the biggest things people are going to notice right away is a complete form factor change. And what I mean by form factor change is what the camera itself looks like and how the battery interacts with it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we are the first people to come up with a battery that connects to something like this.
We should talk about this as well.
We can. Let's do it. Most of us have tools in our garage, right? Doesn't matter what color they are, red, yellow, green. I mean, it matters. Okay, I'll judge you, but not on camera. And they all have batteries that connect to them, right? Instead of go into them. Mm-hmm. So what does that allow you to do? You can have different size batteries depending on what you're trying to do with the tool. So for example, you're going to hang a picture in the house. You can grab a 1 amp hour battery for your impact or your drill. It's a nice lightweight package. You don't need it to last all day. It's compact, right? You go do that thing.
Yep.
You're on the job site and you don't have ability to charge battery and you want that impact to run
all
8
day.
hours a day, you put a 5 amp hour battery on there, right? Same tool, different battery size. So previously,
smart.
Our batteries used to go into the bottom of the camera, right? So you would have to open up a little latch on the bottom of the camera. You'd stick the battery in there. The battery size was limited by the form factor of the camera.
Yep, makes sense.
Now,
that's crazy. When you open that side up, I'm like, that's a screen?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now the battery comes off the bottom of the camera.
Wow.
So the camera itself doesn't limit the battery size, right?
And when you say battery size, it's not only amperage, but the size of this unit actually changes with the amperage.
Correct. So this is part of what we now call the flex pack system. So the flex pack system is just our battery system. There are 3 offerings in the flex pack system. One is going to be the battery tray. So that's what's going to come on every one of your cameras when you buy them.
And how many AA's for that?
You can fit 12 in here.
Okay.
The other option then are the lithium battery packs that we sell.
The one that we just talked about.
Yep. So this right here is the R5. The reason it's called the R5 flex pack, R stands for reveal, 5 stands for 5,000 milliamp hour.
Got it.
So what you notice about this is it's actually smaller.
That's what I was about to say, yeah.
So you put this on here.
It's a more compact camera.
Check out how small that thing is, right?
Yeah.
So This is the same size as our previous lithium battery packs, the one that slid into the bottom of the 3.0s. Okay. We also, now though, because of this form factor change, we have an R10, which is a 10,000 milliamp hour battery. That's the same size as this. So just, we don't have one here, but for reference. Yep. So it'd be the same size as if you had the battery tray on there, but you're getting double the battery life. Right.
That's crazy.
So that one replaces 2,000 batteries.
It'd be essentially double the battery life of 12 AA lithiums.
Double the battery life of the R5.
Okay. How do those compare? Do you know, how does like either one of those compare to 12 lithium batteries? I know we're saying 1,000 or 2,000 over the lifetime of the battery, but
it's really, really hard to say because it depends so much on the quality of the lithium. Like even from Energizer to Duracell, like you're getting different qualities of lithium. 2, it's really dependent on like how many of those batteries are actually good or not active. We don't know. So I'm not even going to put a number out there. What I will say is
it's better.
If you fill up this thing with lithiums or if you use a lithium battery pack, you're going to get better performance out of the actual lithium battery pack versus the individual AA's.
I believe you, right? And I would imagine that like one power source is way better than 12, like because of the inconsistencies you've talked about and that we've also seen.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the form factor, this is a big deal, right? Nobody else is doing this in the camera space. You now have the ability to customize your setup for what you want. So, for example, if I'm going to run cameras in an area that I have access to, that I can get to quickly, if it's early season and I'm going to be moving them a ton, right? Like early season, I'm moving my cameras a lot because I'm doing inventory. As I get closer and closer, or even in season, I move them less. These little R5s are awesome because this is a tiny little compact package.
I know I'm going to access it.
Exactly. Right. I know I'm going to get the performance I want out of it. And it's a tiny, like I said, it's not a big bulky thing. If I want to put my camera in a spot where it's like, I don't want to go back to it, I'll run an R10 on here because I'm getting double the battery life. Right. And it's not that much bigger.
And what's our retail on an R10?
$100, $99.99.
Yep.
Wild.
So
it's $2,500 worth of AA lithiums.
Correct.
Yeah, and so in the bottoms of your battery packs here, it's worth noting, still have like what you would expect on the bottom of a camera. Like it has your USB-C, port there, and it has your
screw.
Your screw.
Yep, your quarter 20 insert. Yep, for any different mounting options.
Yep, for pick and stick or
and
whatever.
Then would this also be your?
That's your barrel jack for where you'd connect a solar panel to.
That's right. So solar panels, and as far as like additional battery packs, beyond the R5 and the R10, like you have the solar panel, which we can talk about. Are there additional like mega battery packs or even external things that people can do?
Yeah,
so you hear guys hooking them up to car batteries and stuff like that.
So the problem with the car battery is it's always sitting on the ground. You have weatherproof issues. It's kind of a pain, right? So we actually built what we call the battery belt, which is a whole series of lithium batteries kind of in a belt form that you just strap onto the tree. So you could still do that with these, right? It's like you could run whether it's the insert that you're going to put, or the tray that you're going to put AA's in, or one of the battery packs. You could do that plus a battery belt, and then that just plugs into your barrel jack connector.
When you do one of those externals or a solar, and you have, let's say you're using the standard battery tray with AA lithiums in it. Is it bypassing the lithium batteries inside?
So it depends what you're using. So let's use the solar as an example first. So the cool thing about our solar panels is it's not just a solar panel. It's a solar panel and a battery bank.
Gotcha.
So our solar panels actually have their own 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside of them.
Storage in it. Yep.
And it's a smart system. It actually, the panel and the camera talk to each other. So the way that's going to work is the solar panel will charge its own internal battery, and then it uses its own internal battery to charge the camera battery. So if the battery that's attached to the camera is less than 100%, it's going to take power from its battery bank, the solar panel, and it's going to charge your camera battery. And then once this is charged, it will refill its own.
Has to be one of these. It can't recharge like a standard lithium that you buy from the store.
Correct. Or like alkaline. Like it has to be a rechargeable battery. So if you have rechargeable AA's in here, it'll work that way. Yeah.
But if they're just standard disposables, then does it bypass it at that point, I assume?
Yep, exactly. So you're going to use, then you would just use those as separate power sources, essentially, right? Which it can still recharge its own battery bank. Right?
But just can't affect the disposable batteries inside.
Exactly.
Yep, makes sense.
So that's the way it works with a solar panel. Obviously, with an external battery, it's just going to serve as a secondary power source. So because there's nothing's filling it up, right?
And does it I guess from a stepwise standpoint, does it go internal batteries, then external source?
External, then internal.
Okay.
Yep.
That
So
would make sense.
And
Yep,
the reason
that
it does
makes
that is because that's like on your app, it'll always say external if it's using the external power source. Once that runs out, then it's going to go back to telling you how much power.
It will.
Yep.
Interesting.
So
and it makes sense to prioritize it that way because it's
Absolutely.
rechargeable as opposed to the non-rechargeable.
Exactly. So if, for example, like let's say you have a solar panel and you put it up in January or February, right? Even if it's in the timber, there's no leaves on the trees, so that thing's going to
catch light.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say it's in like a deep, dark hole. So by the time you get to July, maybe that thing's not getting enough solar anymore to maintain itself. It'll run itself down, and it'll still say external on your app. Once that gets to 0 and it can't maintain itself anymore, then you'll actually get a reading of a percentage, and that'll be how much battery life is internal. Yep.
And then in that same standpoint, does it slowly charge itself back?
Potentially.
And
it just depends how much solar.
And it could flip again?
Yep, correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
What do you, and maybe it's tough to gauge, I don't know much about, like, how do you, solar requirements for, like, how much light does it have to pick up? Like, we can stand and say, hey, it's full sun or it's not.
Yep.
Any kind of more accurate judge of that?
I mean, that's a pretty good judgment. Those photovoltaic cells are getting better and better and better.
Sure.
Like, even our new, we have a new solar panel coming out this year, the R5 solar panel, and that's 30% better than our previous ones in terms of the amount of light it can collect and how quickly it can charge a camera. So even in those areas, like in the timber, where typically, previously somebody would suggest maybe not putting a solar. Yeah, it might not sustain itself, but it's still going to give you an extended period of run life, right? Because of how good it is at collecting that solar. Even if it only gets sun for a couple hours a day, right? Like these things don't necessarily need 12 hours of sun every day. Like every little bit they get, they'll charge.
Dude, it seems pretty foolproof. And like what you're saying about, once the foliage is off during
it makes a ton of sense
November
at that point.
on, basically. It's like if you pair that with something like an R10, it's like it seems like you could run that thing year round.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have the thing sitting on a feeder where it's taking thousands of photos
well, even
a
then,
day.
you just back it off. All the settings we talked about previously. It's like just be smart about your usage.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not going to sustain for a long time, but it's just dependent on, like...
Sure. Taking 3,000 pictures a day, it's going to eat it up.
I can tell you this, right? There will be millions and millions of active reveal cameras in the woods this fall. The average reveal camera of those millions and millions of cameras that are out there takes 40 photos a day.
I believe that.
Yeah, I do too.
So for that average user, right, who's somewhere in that range.
Do we think that's a lot or a little?
I think most people think that's a little. Just think about if you're running on your feeder, how many pictures can you get in a day?
I mean, I can't, but because of my settings, like I'm trying to be smart with my battery usage. So, but to be honest with you, dude, it has been interesting because I still have some stealth cams out there. Like, and it's been interesting to see. I used to feel like I get so many pictures, like, and I just got numb to like how many of them didn't have anything in them. And even though I would try to, set your sensitivity to low or, try to be more accurate with that, to this day, I get, it's got to be 10 times, like, I don't know, 8 to 10 times the amount of pictures on those stealth cams of nothing. And it's been pretty enjoyable now that I'm using the Reveal app. I'm like, I don't get nearly as many pictures, but almost every one of them is of the right thing. And I've tested them. I'll walk past them. We'll do this. And I'm like, dude, it's a high degree of
just mistriggers.
There's always that objective thing. People feel like, oh, I don't know, this deer was standing in front of a camera and it didn't get a picture or whatever. It has not been my experience so far. It's been very on point.
Yeah. And that goes back to the PIR sensor, which we can get into some of the technology of that too, if you guys want to, but
we do all of it.
Yeah. So, if you're, to me, 40 photos a day, I think it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think about looking at your app, like
over
if you
60
have,
cameras, that's a lot of pictures.
Totally. Or even if you have 10 cameras out, right?
Yeah,
that's 400 pictures.
Yeah.
How many people are actually going through 400 photos a day?
We are.
Yeah. But you guys are power users.
We
right?
are.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So in that situation, right, like any of these power solutions we're talking about, whether it's a lithium battery, or a solar panel or a battery, like you shouldn't need, especially with these 4.0s. This isn't like you have to deal with it during the season thing, right? So back to the 4.0s. We talked about the form factor change, right? That's a big one. The ability to have different batteries that go on there. You're going to hear two things about these cameras from us and I think from everybody else once they get out into the wild. we focused on two things. Now, there's a bunch of high-speed tech and spec improvements that also happened, but at the end of the day, a cellular camera is only useful if it's on, right? So the number one thing we set out to change with this is battery life. And again, I alluded to this earlier. It's not a 15% change. It's not a 50% change. Like 2 to 3 times more battery life than your 3.0.
Crazy.
So like to put that in reference, depending on what your settings were, it's like even if you were getting, I'm just going to pick a number. If you were getting 3 or 4 months, let's say you're getting 4 months out of your 3.0, depending on your settings.
Talking about a year now.
You're talking about 8 months to a year now.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
It's huge.
And is that what, I assume you guys have those numbers. What was the average battery life? It was 3 to 4 months across the board?
Not necessarily.
Just depend on the situation.
Yeah, totally.
Everything we talked about already. What was it set on? Signal, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, hard to pull an average from that.
I would say for me, I can speak anecdotally for myself, right? Because I have a bunch of cameras out. Like the settings I run and the areas I run them, I would say I leaned more towards like power consumption than efficiency in most cases, and it's not unheard of for me to get 4 months out of a 3.0.
Yep. Okay.
With no other supplemental battery source whatsoever, right? Like it changes if it's solar panel or you have a battery belt.
I've got 3 3.0s going since we got them, so it's been it's probably in its 4th month now, and they're still. And I'm not taking a ton of pictures. They're on crop fields or whatever.
But before we move on completely from battery life, and you've done an awesome job covering all this, it's exciting. Cold weather seems to be like the nemesis of all battery life, period. Like, is that, I mean, obviously it's something that you guys are like aware of, right? Is this something that can be remedied in any kind of way? Is it something that you attempted to remedy like with the R4, or is it just kind of is what it is?
I mean, there are little things, there are little things that can be done, right? But I mean, if you think about anything across the board, like even your car, right?
Yeah.
Like car battery struggle.
They hurt it. Yeah.
Cold weather is just hard on batteries. And there's not a lot we can do to circumvent that.
Yeah. Have there been attempts, not just by you, but like industry wide, is that you're right, dude, I've had cars not start in super cold weather. It's like, can you insulate them? Can they be, I mean, I know certain tractors is that you heat them up. Yeah. Obviously that's a huge consumption of energy too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Again, I don't know. I don't want to speak out of my lane here, right? I'm sure there's a bunch of research and effort and time being put into fixing this. That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just try and market them.
Well, and to think,
fair enough.
To think of like, what is that threshold? Like, is it below freezing? Is it below 0? And then if you start to put those days, like again, if we're talking like Wisconsin or something like that, maybe more days.
Dude, we had some brutal cold last year. We had like 10-day stretches that were all, sub 10, 15.
Yeah, and I'm sure it took it to one battery life for sure. I mean, but I think that
what I've really noticed on mine is where you start to notice it is that extended periods of sub 20 degrees.
Yeah,
that's kind of that cutoff point for me where I start to notice some battery inefficiency.
Yeah.
If it's a day or two, you don't really notice it.
No, if it's like, even if it's negative in the morning, but it gets up to 35 degrees, fine.
Exactly. When you get those 10, 12, 14-day stretches of that's when you start to notice it the most.
The problem with like, and I sympathize with camera companies because it's a very hard problem to solve, but it's like, dude, when you're running cameras during the season, so trying to actually do on a feeder, which that super cold weather pushes them to it, it's just like a recipe for.
But that's where I think it becomes so important, where you add those supplemental solar panel, battery bank, right? And then you don't have to worry about it.
Yep, agree.
Yeah,
cool. This year will be an interesting test. I just picked up, you chuckle about this, I picked up 3 5,000-pound feeders.
Okay.
They're monsters. They're like 12 foot tall. I fill them with a gravity wagon.
Yeah.
This is in Ohio. And I'll be really curious to run. They're not filled yet, so they're just mineral sites right now. But I'll be curious to see, and I'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah.
Like even as a case study, say here, here's how this goes throughout the case, course of a year. But be fun to track those.
Well, and I'm sure people are going to ask, it's like, okay, cool. Where did that 2 to 3 times battery life improvement come from? Right. Like you guys just making that up, you pulling it out of your hat, whatever. So we test these in 2 different ways. One is what we call a burn down test. And that's a very controlled lab setting where we have our cameras, competitors' cameras, and we control how often it takes a photo, what those intervals between photos are. And we literally just run them until they die.
Wow.
It's this very controlled, very consistent period of time between photos, and we just run them till they die, and we compare it that way. Now, that is a controlled setting, so it's temperature controlled. You don't have the variables that you do out in the wild, right? So that's how we get our initial data in terms of like when we're doing the R&D and developing these cameras, like are we moving in the right direction?
Right.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter for hunters. We don't put cameras in controlled lab environments, right? So then the next step of that is we actually field test them. And that's what's been really fun about these cameras and field testing them is, you're talking months and years of times of a single spot, like on a pole, a 3.0 and a 4.0, pointing at the same thing, taking the same number of pictures, right? And that's like in the field, fluctuations of temperature and humidity and all those things. Right? Exactly, exactly. And we test them against our competitors too. So like,
I'm imagining just a totem pole of cameras.
Totally.
Like,
I mean, it says it on the box. Best battery life of any cellular camera. Like that's true.
Because
without a doubt. Then best battery life of any cellular camera and 2 to 3 times better than any reveal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang.
It's impressive.
It's cool. I'm fired. Like, and here's the thing, right? It's like there's a bunch of other.
I'm fired up. That's why I'm pushing for this Wisconsin deadline. I'm like, let's get these things rolling.
Like I said, there's a bunch of other tech and spec that we can get into, but to me, people care about 2 things with cellular cameras: how long does the battery last, and how good are the images and video. Right? And those are the 2 things that you are going to notice the most improvement on the 4.0s. Best battery life of any cellular camera and a dramatic improvement in image quality and video quality.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask on these.
I thought they were already
So these are, we're looking at a Pro 4.0 here.
Yep.
And I was looking on the side of the box. It says dual lenses for the Pro. The X does not have dual lenses.
Correct.
What's that?
Okay. So
right there.
Either one, yeah.
So if you look at this camera now, there are actually 2 lenses on the front of it. Most cameras, including our X or previous cameras or a lot of our competitor cameras, you're only going to see 1.
Yeah.
So here's how this works. When there's 1 lens on the front of a camera, that lens is optimized for daytime photos.
Yep.
When it takes a nighttime photo, it actually drops a filter over the top of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to be able to hear that on some of the old, any brand of cameras.
And some of them used to get stuck.
Yeah,
and
that's
then it'd be like, they'd all be like a
half.
weird red thing. I'm like, what is this?
Yep, 100%. So you hit the first one already, nail on the head, right? Sometimes there's like a click, little sound. And then 2, you're taking a lens that's optimized for daytime photos, you're applying a filter over the top of it. It's not necessarily optimized for nighttime photos. No. They were fine, right?
Sure.
They're fine, but it's not optimized. So what we did is we said, hey, screw it. Let's just put 2 lenses in here, one for daytime, one for nighttime.
That's a big hardware improvement.
There's no filter that drops. Now you're going to get a lens specifically optimized for the situation in which it's taking a photo.
Wow.
So the lens for the daytime photos is still better. So like comparing even a 3.0 photo, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, we're just looking at
we're just looking at the video, right? Comparing that to the 4.0 photos now, it's like, oh yeah, I see it, right? And that's the daytime ones. The nighttime ones, it's even more dramatic improvement.
Because you actually have a dedicated lens for it.
Correct.
Wow.
So yeah, that's another big change for the Pro 4.0 compared to its predecessor, the Pro 3.0. Beyond that, you called out another one as soon as I did this.
Yeah.
So we've all had the situation where you hang a camera on the tree.
Yep.
You're trying to aim the thing, and you're just looking at yourself.
Yeah, just
right?
I'm trying to like move my head.
Is that why you did that?
Exactly.
Interesting.
So we moved the LCD and the controls
That's cool.
over to the side of the camera. So now you're off to the side of the camera when you're setting it up.
Setting
so
it up on
unimpeded view, to what it's looking at.
That's awesome.
Which is a big improvement.
We're doing leaps and bounds here, dude. It was just 2 years ago that I was like, and I don't even know if I realized that at the time that there were cameras that you could see your field of view. So you're constantly walking back and forth, and I'm like, I'm just setting this all up. I'm tracking all over it.
Trying to refresh my app and see if it just took a picture.
I didn't even know the first couple times I set out a reveal, I was like, oh, look at that. This is really nice. And I could just get out of the way, but moving on the side there, I can see the advantage. So.
Well, and even if you don't have a Pro, so the X 4.0 doesn't have an LCD screen, just has the controls on the side.
Mm-hmm.
All of our cameras are Wi-Fi enabled.
Yeah, so you can connect right to the app.
You can connect right to the app, and then you can be looking at what the camera's looking at on your phone, even whether you don't want to look on this screen or if you have an X without a screen.
Do you have to have service to do that?
No.
Because it's just a Wi-Fi connection.
Correct.
To
the camera puts off its own Wi-Fi, and then it connects to your phone.
Yeah.
So that's the other way you can kind of circumvent the whole thing. But moving these controls, it's a much more.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you guys probably noticed here is to take this battery off, I keep opening this door.
Yeah, I did see that.
This door is your lock for the battery.
Hmm.
The reason for that is, you want
Yeah. Is there still a release button or no?
Nope. So doors open, you just pop it right off.
Got it.
And the reason for that is, well, one, you don't want the battery to come off. But two, let's say you're going to throw this out on public. You don't want somebody to be able to steal your battery. So when you lock this down, there's actually a little hole on the back side here that you could throw a lock or a cable
one single
through.
lock covers both.
Exactly. So now somebody cannot get to your controls and they can't get to your battery.
Interesting. And I saw also it still has an SD slot, but there is internal storage as well.
Correct. So it's actually underneath here. That's where your SD card goes.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, you don't need to use it. I mean, personally,
Yeah, why?
I don't run a SD card.
And just
anymore.
run whatever.
Overwrite everything.
Yeah.
And it'll overwrite its internal storage, but all of those photos are accessible in the cloud.
Yeah, they're in the
It
cloud.
never overwrites those. So you never lose any photos.
Wow.
It's basically just like a well of service or of storage, right? That you never run out of because it just
reusable.
How much internal storage is there? Just wondering. Do you know?
16 gigs.
Yeah.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, sounds right.
It's either 8 or 16. I can't remember.
Probably on
That's
here
awesome.
somewhere.
That's a big
I
deal.
don't remember because it doesn't matter, right? Like
It doesn't.
it just overwrites itself.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, hard to believe, but Deer Grow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at deergrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
So I guess we talked about the night side of things because I do think that that's a big one. In terms of like the no glow infrared, like what are there any changes on the flash side for any of these or how that works?
Yeah, so that was one of the features from the Ultra that people loved. It was really beneficial, is that selectable flash.
Yeah.
So we carried that over to the Pro model.
Okay.
So on the Pro, you're going to have that selectable low glow or no glow flash. And what's great about that is those different IR flashes are great for different situations. So an example of like, let's say you're going to take this Pro and you're going to put it on a food plot.
Mm-hmm.
You might want to select low glow flash because you want the clearest pictures at distance. And because it's a food plot, right, and there's nothing like necessarily driving deer towards that camera,
Right.
they might be further away.
You have to reach out there and
Correct.
touch them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if you're going to put it on, say, a feeder or a pinch point or a scrape,
yeah.
right, like you might go with a no glow flash because you know that deer is going to be pretty close to that camera, especially if it's on public, because then humans can't see it either.
Yeah.
Right. So you have that covert nature of not actually seeing that slight red. Most ungulates can't see red wavelengths, so it's not going to matter for the deer seeing it or not, but for humans, it makes a difference. So with the Pro, you don't have to think about where you're going to put that camera before you go out into the field. You just say, oh, this one ended up on a food plot, this one ended up on a pinch point. You go into the app and you choose what flash you want.
And I assume there's some battery conservation mindset there too.
They're pretty similar.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's not going to be a huge
So even though
change.
one is like really reaching out there from a bright standpoint, it's not consuming much more battery.
Correct.
So the two options are low glow and no glow.
Correct.
And the only difference that a human could see visibly would be a small red light.
Correct. So in low glow, those infrared sensors, you'll see like a slight red hue.
Yeah.
When it takes the photo, and no glow just it's black. You don't see anything.
Interesting. I got to tell you, in the past, we've run cameras that was a white flash camera. And I'm pretty sure the advantage there was like better nighttime picture quality.
For sure was.
And they were good. They were very good. Our deer hated them.
Oh, yeah.
They freaked out.
Yep.
I had a bunch of them. I was like, oh, I'm going to run these this year. And I was like,
well, dude, when you experience it, first of all, they were unbelievable night pictures, colored night pictures. Like it's a white flash, right? When you see that, like you walk by it or you see it taking pictures in the woods, you're like, well, no shit.
It looks like bombs are going off all over your property.
Yeah. Well, especially when they're not expecting it, right? Like there's walking through dark woods and all of a sudden it's like,
I still have
Someone
one for
out.
a security camera. Just because, like, if a
Yeah,
car
that's the
or
best
somebody's
use for it.
trespassing and that thing just starts, like,
totally.
clearly you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only one that I still have out.
Okay. Well, I guess in the vein then of, and if you're going somewhere with that, don't let me stop you. But we talked previously about the lens coming down and making some sort of noise.
Yep.
We're talking there about the flash, which I think, so infrared seems to be the less detectable,
correct,
by deer. The last thing that I know to even ask about would be frequency of some sort, or like something that would put out a noise or something that deer can like pick up on. Is that something that you guys are aware of, have heard of, like try to diagnose with your camera in any way? Or
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that people are not aware of is that filter dropping on the lens, making that clicking noise, because
we've all heard it,
yeah,
whether you realize it or not. I mean, if you're setting it up and you have it like close to you or covered, you hear it click.
Well, is there a noise to just the picture being taken itself?
No, it's that filter dropping.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot of time when people are like, oh, my deer know where my cameras are. Typically it's a nighttime photo.
And it's a filter drop.
Exactly. There is anecdotal conversations out there about deer being able to pick up on cellular cameras, blah, blah, blah. I mean,
if it's like a frequency of some sort, that's what they think.
And I'm not going to say they can. I'm not going to say they can't. I will say, like, put it this way. We talked about how many reveal cameras will be out in the woods this fall. Most days in November, those cameras will be taking somewhere between 80 to 150 million photos a day. We've got a lot of data that would indicate that deer
The deer
are
are just
not,
used to it at this point.
Yeah.
Can't go anywhere without getting a reveal picture taken of them.
Yeah. But there's also people that swear by the fact that their big bucks don't walk by cellular cameras.
Yeah, and I mean, there for sure could be something to the cellular signal thing. Like, who knows what the animal side of sensitivity to waves and things like that.
What if you put that aside? Like, do you guys, you're obviously aware of the components that are in this camera. Like, is there known information that, hey, this frequency or this technology does create some sort of sound or visible wavelength or something like that? Like,
no, not that we're aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like, I'm not going to say it does. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I would also say, based off the number of very mature buck pictures that our cameras take every year of the same mature buck time and time again, I have a hard time with the argument that it bothers them. But again, I also think, like, we're pretty disconnected from the natural world, right? Like, our dogs do weird things that we can't explain, and then something weird happens. And it's like, how'd they know that, right?
Sure.
So, like,
yeah,
I'm not going to pretend to actually.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to think about it in like a couple different ways. Like, if we're thinking about the camera always being connected, right? Then in theory, could it always be sending some sort of cellular frequency or wave out? Probably. It obviously is doing a different activity when it's throwing a picture up. But at the same time, if there is a sensitivity to that, let's say it's making some sort of squealing sound that they pick up or whatever, well, then every time you're in the stand, they should be looking up at you, because this damn thing's going to be putting out the same thing. So
it's true.
They don't, right? Or at least it seems like they're not. Like,
again, anecdotal. It's tough because you're also there and we stink. And
but I mean, so think about the number of deer that walk through and don't notice you. Like, I would assume that if all of a sudden this frequency, because the camera's there 24/7, 365, you all of a sudden slip in to be the hunter, and now you're having something in your pocket that's throwing the same weird frequency. They don't notice you. That seems even more suspicious. Yeah, right? I mean, like, they should be looking at you.
It would be interesting to look at the data. Like, have less deer gotten killed since people started carrying cell phones in the woods?
For sure not.
Right.
For sure not.
And that's what I always go back to, too. It's like, if this was truly a thing, we shouldn't be able to kill deer with cell phones in our pockets.
Well, there's also, like we kind of touched on, is the normalization of, like, even if there's enough of them in the woods that, like, and I do think that deer get used to and will tolerate things as long as they aren't having highly negative experiences every time.
From a scent standpoint, whether it's our scent and or components scent, like, I for sure believe that the deer pick up on that. I mean, they have a unbelievable sense of smell to be able to determine that there's something
there
that, whether it could be the strap or whatever. Like we smell
doesn't
it.
mean it's negative. They'll walk up to the bottom of your tree
Exactly.
stand and look at it. They can obviously tell it's
Totally
not a bark.
If they're avoiding it, I think that probably is more to do with the human interaction to that area than it is the camera itself.
Sure.
And scent's a huge one, right? Like you think about the components of a camera, right? Between plastics and like the strap, like these are semi-porous materials, and depending on what your hygiene practice is for your cameras, both preseason and in season, I agree with you, right? I think people are like, well, why do deer come up and look at my camera? It's like, well, because it stinks like you.
You've
right?
left scent on the camera.
Exactly.
I guarantee if you take this camera, go set it up on that mountain, within 48 hours there'll be a bear right on it.
Mm-hmm.
For the same reason, not because it's purely a scent interest attraction to it.
Yep.
Every time. Now the ones that have been out there for a year, they're not. They go by them all the time. But when they first got put out, every time right to face to the camera.
And there's a really easy way to combat that if you want to. Like natural UV is like one of the best things ever for breaking down scent molecules. Put your cameras outside for a week before you go. Like let them sit out in the sun for a week in your backyard on your picnic table or whatever before you go hang them out.
Mm-hmm.
That'll take care of most of that scent.
And I would assume and it seems like an overkill, but like gloves and stuff when you're hanging.
What is that? Just natural UV from the sun breaks down bacteria?
Most scent molecules will break, like molecules that give off scent will be broken down by natural. So like the old school, like hang your
clothes
orange
out is what I'm
outside a
thinking.
week before hunting, like they were actually onto something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, that's where my mind went. It's like, because we don't really do that anymore. It's like maybe you do like an ozone bath or something, or you wash them and then they go in the tote.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way to look at it.
And again, it's degrees of like, how anal do you want to be about it?
I really do think that the nighttime lens could be, obviously there's been a lot of changes. That could be one of the biggest things from a deer, particularly mature buck, paying attention to a camera beyond scent, like put scent aside, because that for sure, it made a noticeable click to us as humans. For sure, the deer are like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I this is the way I always describe it, because somebody described it to me this way. I'm not claiming ownership of this, but I think it was the best way I ever heard it, right? It's all degrees towards tipping the odds in your favor.
For sure.
Right? And it's like, okay, if I challenge either one of you to go hide in a 3-year-old's bedroom, like a 3-year-old human, you could probably do that for a while and they wouldn't know you there.
Mm-hmm.
If one of you guys tries to hide in my bedroom, like I'm gonna see you the moment I walk in, right? Like,
or will you?
It's the same for deer.
Right? Out from under the curtain.
Yeah.
I see you there.
That's the way I try and describe it
to
around people about mature deer too, right? It's like,
they know.
They know.
1.5-year-old's gonna walk by and not care. A 5-year-old buck knows every single little thing, right?
Well, that comes down, I think, to I think so much of deer hunting is like, if you want to call it demeanor or just how we act in their environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked to enough people to like, I think land on, and maybe it's situational depending on like different parts of the country and stuff. But like in most parts of the whitetail range, farm country at least, hiding in plain sight seems to be the best way to do it. Be obvious with your intrusion. Like don't try to like tiptoe around or protect your scent even when you're doing stuff. Just freaking rip out there in the brush hog, in the tractor, and be as loud as possible, and wear your shorts and your sneakers that you're going to wear most of the time, and do the thing and make it a positive interaction if there is one. Like go fill the feeder, go, plant the food plot, so like, and I don't know if they can make that direct connection, but like they're not bothered by the fact that you're out and they know you're there. You're not sneaking around. It's like, oh, here he comes. Yeah, I'll watch him. Yeah, he did his thing and he's gone. And hey, now there's a pile of corn there. Or hey, a couple weeks later, there's a food plot. It's like, this place is pretty great here. And they just become, I think, because they smell you every single time you're out there. They smell you. If you step foot on the ground, I think like they know it. And so, frankly, I think that carries over into a hunting season. Is like, granted, we do try to be less invasive and more protective with like laying scent, especially in areas we want them to feel totally comfortable. But if they do come across an area that you walked or whatever, they're just kind of like, hey, that's his space. That's his, like, he's been here the whole time. It's not that big of a deal. So we do that with all of our camera setups as much as we can.
Totally. And that's what, like, some of my favorite places to hunt are active farms, right? Because they're used to machinery, people, like
creates huge opportunities for access and all kind of stuff.
And I think some of those things that deer that aren't as used to interacting with humans pick up on as danger cues, these deer don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're just used to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, that's why like a lot of our access on our Illinois farm, we'll ride the tractor in the morning, right through the fields.
Right in there.
Right in, drop person off, ride the tractor back out, and they're like, yep, there he goes, their game, you know?
Because every field's got combines running through it, and it's like it's that time of year, so you just mimic that, and that's a huge ticket.
Versus up here, like if I'm anything, vehicle-wise through the mountain, they're like, what the hell?
It's a problem.
Yeah, it's
Danger.
a problem. Yeah. And no different than even myself. Like they're not used to seeing a light, or a person walk through. So it's just, I mean, you just have to play your cards right. Now, in a lot of those areas, you have lower deer densities than you have in some of the working farm areas. So that is probably the biggest offshoot from a working standpoint. But yeah, man, it's tough. But you just use those things to your advantage for sure.
Well, dude, what do you think about as far as camera strategy? We kind of like laid out a few for you, like right now, mineral sites, at a certain point here, feeders, in bait states and stuff like that. Like from someone who works at Reveal, like do you guys encounter like some unique strategies for running cameras? And or like a side comment I would say on that is like, I've heard people literally say to my face, like, cell cameras don't help you kill deer. I'm like, that's 100% false.
You're not using them, right?
I've killed a lot of deer standing right in front of them. Like you're using it wrong.
Yeah.
So do you have any input or advice on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're a tool, right? Like cell cameras are a tool in the toolkit. And I think if you think about it like a tool, you can definitely use them to your advantage. Do they kill deer for you? Absolutely not. Like we can all attest to this. I get a lot of pictures of big deer on cell cameras every year that one, I never see on the hoof.
Sure.
Two, I absolutely never kill.
Yep.
Right. So I think that is the kind of the misconception with them. And frankly, like all of our tools that we use in the woods have evolved from a technological standpoint, right? It's like nobody wants to use a bow from 10 years ago, right? Like they've just gotten better.
Nobody even wants to use a bow, period. Use a crossbow.
There you go. You're not wrong. So yeah, I think first and foremost, looking at them as a tool is a big part of it, and understanding that it's one of the things that you can use to tip the odds in your favor. In terms of strategy, like mine is not revolutionary, right? And nor do I think there's really any, I shouldn't say there's not any. There's very few revolutionary like trail camera tactics. I think I think about it more as a progression though. And that tool and the way I use it changes over the course of the year. Mm-hmm. So early in the year, I'm putting out a lot of cameras and I'm spreading them pretty wide, and I'm putting them in areas where I am more likely to be able to take inventory of deer than figure out where those deer actually live. Right. Yep. So for the beginning part of my season, call it from whenever I put cameras out, June, July, et cetera, until September, before deer transition into their actual fall patterns, all I'm trying to do is like figure out where do I maybe want to hunt this fall.
Yeah.
Based on where is there a deer that is of the caliber I'm looking for.
So if it's in an area like Ohio, right, you can use bait, you can use mineral, like where can you congregate those deer to figure out what's in the area? In areas where I can't bait, right, I'm going to focus on food sources or potentially water sources. Like, again, areas where I can congregate deer, where I know I'm probably going to get, over the course of a couple months, if there is a buck in the area I want to chase, like a place that I'm going to get a photo of him. So my camera strategy for that, call it June to September, is very different than what my camera strategy is from September to November. Okay. Once September to November hits, now, if I know where that deer is or a deer I want to go after, I got to figure out where he lives.
Yep.
Right. So then I'm very much more focusing on, it's like, okay, based off where I saw photos of him this summer, obviously that range is going to change in the fall. One, I need to re-find him. And then two, I need to figure out two main things. And I'm oversimplifying this, right? But it's like, where does he like to eat and where does he like to sleep?
Sure.
So then I'm going to be focusing on things like pinch points and travel corridors to try and figure out and put, essentially triangulate, if you will, where this deer is spending most of his time. Mm-hmm. Even then, I might move my cameras one more time. So I kind of think about it in 3 shifts. So there's the first shift, which is summer. There's the second shift, which is early fall, and I'm trying to triangulate where he is. And then my third shift is like, once I think I know where he is, I need to get closer to where he is. So I'm getting that photo an hour sooner or a half an hour sooner, because then I can really hone in on, it's like, okay, where is he bedding? Once I know where that deer's bedding, my chance of killing him goes up astronomically. And not that I'm going to go in and kill him in his bed, but if I know where he's bedding and I typically know where he goes first, right, your chances increase significantly. So from a strategy perspective, I'm actually running the most cameras at the beginning and the fewest cameras at the end in terms of quantities of them. And then beyond that, it's really just honing in from like who is where to where can I actually potentially kill them.
Are the properties that you're hunting or that we're talking about here for the most part owned, lease, permission, public, or all the above?
All the above. Yeah, it's a pretty good mix.
Yeah. I would say on properties that we own or have the ability to manage, it was that way for a while, for sure. I had a distinct, like, summer cameras here, fall pattern, fall here, which typically involved scrapes and stuff. And then, maybe there was like a rut strategy or a late season strategy to go with. I don't know. It's at certain points, he's like, you fall off the camera strategy a little, or you kill one and, you kind of move on. Over the years, I have really made, because I didn't like doing that. I didn't like having to go in that time of year to move like mid-September or whatever it was. I'm like, at that point, I want to be out of it. So I really made a conscious effort to try to, stack everything in central effective locations as possible.
Yep.
And it's like a combination of probably everything that you said. Like, and so if I just think of an example, it's like, dude, in Ohio, where it's a Bay State, if for sure a feeder is kind of like a no-brainer, and I'm going to put that right on a mineral, so there's no movement needed. Those are both going to be probably in the corner of a food plot that I can monitor in the back end. Probably that I have designed in a way that they are going to transition through it. So it's like I have 4 things converging at a certain point here, and then use any combination of them. Usually it is on the corner of a food plot that's planned strategically. If it's not a feeder, it's a scrape. Maybe it's also got a water hole in the background. And so I have found that over the years, and in Illinois, I mean, dude, we don't even move cameras. They just are where they are.
Yeah, we don't expect to see deer in the summertime either.
Not as much. And in all of that, we are sacrificing probably some summertime pictures, but they're more visible that time of year. So like, assuming it's a property you can get to at least a few times, like we see them with our eyes. Like, Dad sends me pictures out of the back. He's like, hey, I saw this one off the back deck here. And I did get a picture of him last night, but it was one of the first ones I've gotten. I know he's in the field every night. So it's just okay. Over the course of like July, August, I got a handful of pictures to know what he is, that initial inventory like you talked about. But the benefit though is even that camera is on an inside corner of a scrape, near some apple trees. It's in a hunting scenario around the corner from a feeder. So it's nice to be able to, like, we have developed the property in a way that the camera strategy is very effective, and I have to move them hardly at all.
Yeah, and I think all of this is a spectrum, right? It's like, some of the places that I've hunted for 10 years, I'm not necessarily spending as much time, or what I'll do there is I'll still have my cameras exactly like you just talked about that are there all year long and I don't move. But those summer cameras that I'm trying to continue to take inventory with, I put them in very low impact spots. Spot that I can get to on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler with the truck, right? I'm not going in the timber. I'm not dropping, I'm not bumping deer. So like I can still take inventory on that parcel in a way where it's like, I might not have to move that camera. It's just like, it's a summer camera. I pull it and then my in-season cameras are there all year long, right? Now in public, if it's ground that I've never hunted before, I'm scouting, like I got to get in there because if I can't find them, I can't kill them, right?
So let me ask you this. This is open-ended. There's no right or wrong answer to this question, but it's a unique situation here where, Brett Smith and I just picked up this lease in Wisconsin. You're familiar with Wisconsin and roughly that time of area. It's a decent sized lease. It's like 370 acres. It's a mix, I can tell, of bluffy timber that falls off down towards the ridges.
Yep.
Very Wisconsin. And then there is ag interior.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. Corn and alfalfa, maybe if I had to guess. What do you think for somebody who can't necessarily get back there several times before? Like if we go out next week and put cameras that I want to be effective for us at inventorying and killing deer.
Yep.
What do you think? What would be some of the first places you would look?
I mean, very likely if that is commercial agriculture, it's corn and beans, right? So
not a lot of alfalfa up there?
There's some. Typically,
I was hoping for because of the
Yeah.
early opener. I was like hoping for maybe that.
Typically, alfalfa's planted as like a cover crop or like a subsidized crop if they can't get corn or beans in early enough.
Okay.
We have some of it. It's not as it's corn and beans.
Okay.
So what I would do in that situation, and again, this is like blue sky. Typically, I'm looking at about one camera for every 5 acres on a property.
Okay.
Right. Now, that's going to change. Like, you're going to have some unhuntable acres. You're not going to put a camera every 5 acres of beans. So, like, it averages out.
That's
right?
a lot of cameras, man.
It's a lot of cameras.
Okay.
Even if I can get to 1 to 10, 1 to 15, like, whatever. That's going to vary. But, again, this is blue sky, right? So, not everybody, this isn't attainable for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's where I start with. It's like, okay, how many cameras could I potentially put on this place? In this place, for example, I would want to put some cameras on those beans, knowing that that is going to be the largest attractant in the spring and summer of where you're going to potentially get inventory of deer.
Mm-hmm.
They'll use those fields. That will be the biggest draw for them, right? Very likely until those beans turn brown. But I know that very likely once those beans turn brown, which typically correlates pretty closely with the start of the season, they're not going to use it anymore.
Right.
So I'm not going to over-index those cameras as like, hey, these are places I could hunt. Those are inventory cameras.
Okay.
Right. And then because you're not going to be able to get back there, I would essentially combine all those strategies into one, right? Where it's like, okay, I now also need to have cameras in areas that I think are transition zones, right? Or pinch points. And then also cameras in areas where I'm thinking about actually hanging stands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to probably do all of those 3 phases in one so that while those deer transition from summer to fall patterns, you already have cameras hopefully staged in areas where you can at least catch them. Right?
That is the hard part, and the more, effective you try to be with fewer cameras, which just, I think, is the reality for most people, is like you're going to sacrifice on one end or the other. And like, it should frankly always be the summer end, right?
Yep.
Because like you can react to, you want to have real-time information when you can actually go kill them.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with everything you said there, but it's like, instead of just pointing them at the soybeans, like, and I know you didn't just say that, but it's like, if you can find an area that is likely to be used, like maybe it's the outside corner of adjacent corn or something like that, or that is also advantageous for a scrape, or is a transition coming, whether you can hunt that or not, it's like there seems to be areas like that in ag country that are just like effective at monitoring.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be at like an hour before daylight for me to figure out that he came from that, especially with video and stuff. I'm like, okay. That is where the real skill of using cell cameras and just cameras in general, I think, is the interpretation of what the pictures you get.
Yeah. But if you guys are going to be there, right, it's like, okay, I would spend 1 or 2 nights that you're there watching that soybean field from the road and be like, okay, where do 80% of these deer enter this field? It's probably in 2 to 4 spots. Like, I'm going to put 2 cameras on those entry or entry points, right? Just because it's like, that's going to be a great inventory spot. I know this camera's not going to help me once that turns, but from an inventory perspective, it is. I'm not putting a camera every 5 acres around those beans, right? Like, that's a waste of cameras. The cool thing about that area, though, too, especially with those bluffs and that topography, is from a scouting perspective, it really helps you hone in on those pinch points and travel corridors, even from an e-scouting perspective before you even get there, because it's not just flat ground. They can't travel anywhere they want in that part of the state. So it'll help you narrow in before you even get there, right? Because they're pretty limited in where they go and how they get there.
How big are you on scrapes? Like mock scrapes, just scrapes in general, using those as a part of your camera strategy?
I'm from a hunting perspective, I'm pretty big on hot sign.
Okay.
Like I would say in the last 5 years, I've got more and more towards like, if I find hot sign, I'm just hunting it. Like even if it wasn't part of my original plan.
Sure.
From a camera perspective, I wouldn't say that is my top priority in terms of where I hang cameras.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's what I've found. I think you will have those community scrapes, right, where you'll have deer congregate. And you'll have those scrape lines where deer will come freshen those up, right, and try and claim their territory. But what I've found is a community scrape for me has never been a great place to hunt. And those other scrapes, they seem to they are only active for short periods of time. So to try and chase scrapes with cameras seems to be an ineffective strategy for me, because I'm having to move those cameras so often, or they're only active for such short periods of time.
Interesting. Me and Brett are teasing us out right now. It's funny because scrapes are a huge part of my strategy.
Yeah.
I've had so much success on farms that I can control and manipulate in other ways that, like I said, I can plant food plots adjacent to them and or water holes and stuff. And there aren't deer on our farm that don't get pictures at those community scrapes. And it's not every day. We do kill them off of them though, for sure. I was just curious to hear your take that, and also because Brett said the same thing. He's like, and maybe, probably not. It's probably person to person as opposed to like Wisconsin versus Ohio kind of thing. But
it could be landscape level.
For me, it is a top priority for me. I'm not going into the woods with cameras in the back of my Ranger without pre-cut vines and zip ties and an electric weed whacker. Electric weed whacker is the most important tool that I have in the back of my Ranger in the months of July and August.
I think it probably
number
is.
one for tearing up the scrape.
It's probably landscape oriented, because if you think of your farm in Ohio and the Illinois farm, those being the two probably primary examples you're talking about.
You would agree also, Jeremy. You've seen the success of the 11 I killed right there on that mock scrape.
Very similar in terms of like the deer have to come through those areas. Whereas like I think where you're going to be in Wisconsin, here, my place in Kentucky, I mean, they're valuable, but like that deer might visit it once every 2 weeks because they're walking and covering other ground.
I disagree. My rebuttal would be it's in the wrong spot if that's the case.
I don't think that's how they're moving. Like they're not moving in like the consistent travel corridor as you're seeing in Ohio and Illinois.
Well, that would be a deal breaker. I
they're
mean,
they're just moving.
If they aren't moving in a patternable sense, then
they're not.
Yeah, whether there's a scrape there or not,
they're in the area.
But that's what you're looking for is some sort of a pattern, and maybe it is every couple of days and not every day, kind of, or every what. And they do happen for short bursts of time. I agree with you on that. But when it happens, like you freaking better get on. I mean, that's the time to go.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, like. I think a community scrape, and again, I think this is somewhat individual.
I don't know for the record the terms of them. I don't know. I just make the most obnoxious looking visual thing that they can't help but come put their nose on it.
I think it's a great spot to inventory.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I think a community scrape is a great spot to put a
It's the only way that we can inventory in Illinois, really. Because of no attractants, no food,
Well, you have like your pinch points and around the outsides of hard edges like corn and stuff like that, but
yeah. And again, I it's different, right? Like I've hunted a lot of different places, and there's certain places, certain states, certain times of year where if you find a hot scrape, like, dude, I'm not walking anywhere else. Like I'm going to hang my set there. Right. And then there's other places where there's either so many of them. See, that's the other thing too, is I've hunted in places, and actually one of my farms in central Wisconsin, like you can't walk 15 yards without finding another scrape. So there's so many of them that it's almost useless because you don't know which ones they're going to freshen up. Right. And a deer could walk through within 100 yards of you, and he could have access to 25 different scrapes.
That's where you need that Primo's buck roar.
Yeah. Which one he decides to freshen up or, take care of, like, it's hard to pick. Other places that I've hunted, it's like, if you find 2 of them, right, within a 5-acre area, like, you're lucky. Well, you know which one, like, you know where they're coming, right?
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, like I would say that southeast part of Kansas that we were talking about is one of those areas where...
Oh, dude, you're going to have so much fun. Have you hunted that part before?
Yeah, I've bow hunted it 3 times.
Okay. That you know what you're getting into.
There's for sure certain scrapes that they're going to come and crush. Now, what seems to be the difference there is that those deer just cover so much ground that it may be every 3 days, every 5 days or so. He's in the area. It's just the way that he covers ground is different than, it's going back to kind of your mindset of like, I just want to find where he's bedding. I think in areas of Kansas, as well as like here on the mountain and stuff, those deer just bed in so many different places that good luck. It could be 10 different places within a 1.5 mile area.
Well, and how they act, right, is so dependent on things like even like buck to doe ratios, right? It's like in areas where that's, closer to optimal, they're going to be a lot more territorial.
For sure.
Right? In areas then, where you have super high doe densities, and frankly, they just don't have to work that hard, right, from a biological perspective to pass on their genetics.
Yeah, I don't even think they have to worry about hitting scrapes that frequent in those types of areas either. There's no reason from a communication side. There's just does they're constantly going after.
See, my whole thing, and I don't want to misrepresent my strategy with scrapes here, is it's not like, it's not the same thing in my mind as like finding a scrape in mid to late October and then hunting it, expecting them to come to that. I've not had a lot of luck with that strategy. It's just like, I don't know, they might not ever come back. Sometimes I think they put a scrape in one time and it is what it is. It's more about creating a fixture on a property that these deer like essentially grow up with, and year to year they use them as communication tools. I mean, that is the point of a scrape. And if you build them correctly and put them in the right places and don't give them bad experiences around them, they do build a pattern around them. I mean, I really believe that.
Well, and I think I agree with what you said earlier too. A lot of it has to do with like what else is in that area, right? If it's a zone where, let's say it's more of like a kill plot style food plot, it's back in the timber, they feel comfortable, they have access to food there. You maybe also have a water hole and that scrape that's been there since they were 1 year old, right? And it's something that's used year long as a communication tool. Like, I'm going to hone in on that in terms of where I'm going to set up on that, because
we're not saying they're going to come to that because the scrape is on their mind. They're coming to it because it's a communication area where they know does are likely to be. When they're there, they're gonna drink the water hole as their first priority. They're gonna grab a bite of whatever, and they will probably put their nose in that scrape.
Even if they don't freshen it up, they're gonna walk by it and smell it.
They're gonna touch it.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, from a strategy perspective, like,
that's what you do.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm with you there for sure.
And the camera strategy is not just on the scrape. Cover it all. Do it to the best of your ability. And those are the types of, if you want to call them traps, that we're creating. It's like, I've become so confident in those over the years that it's like every buck that we're looking for, it's going to come through the trap at some point or time. He may only do it once or twice in daylight per season, but when he does, like, you're going to be there on him.
But that might be the most consistent thing he does once or twice per season.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Like, you're just stacking the odds in your favor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you create those around good access is like the most important thing. Like, you only create those where you have good access and pull them out to the areas. And then those end up, frankly, I think being the only areas you really have to hunt.
And you got to be very careful to not burn them out, because
which is hard with a group of guys over 50. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, especially in a blind, because like a tree stand, you can move tree to tree. But like that's what I told my guys. We put out a bunch of blinds on these spots here this year. I'm like, listen, they're fair game. I want everybody to have fun hunting these, but like, if they figure out that we're in these things, we're screwed. Yeah, and these spots won't work. So we got to be super careful.
Yep. Game over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that especially where you can't use, any kind of attractant, I think a scrape from a camera technology side is, like, inventory wise is the only way to go.
It's going to be fun next week when we go out with Brett, because like he and I are going to argue like in a constructive manner, because like he's going to have his way to do cameras, and I'm going to force him to say, dude, we have to put a scrape, right? Like a couple of them. And it'll be interesting to see like how those, what kind of inventory we turn up over the course of the season. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, no doubt one of the most important pieces of equipment we have besides our bows are tree stands.
The tree stand.
We've been rocking Lone Wolf Custom Gear for several years now. I've got the .75. You're using primarily the .5. And it has changed the way that we've been able to be mobile in the woods.
Running and gunning, man. Not only that, we have our woods are littered with the Patriot Series stands at this point now for us, for permanent stands, and also for the dads. And it's just been awesome to get to know those guys over the years. We have a really good relationship with the DeQuistos and everybody involved with that company. I'll give AJ a shout out there. And so to mention those guys, we are doing the Whitetail Roadshow again at my farm this year.
Second annual.
I believe it's going to be around the weekend of August 15th. It'll be a limited ticketed event, so we'll let you guys know as soon as those are available. It was a big hit last year. I think we sold out, and so really looking forward to that again this year.
Yeah, and if you can't make it there, everybody that's listening can go to lonewolfcustomgear.com, use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 10% off your first order. So if you've already ordered from the website, it's not going to work. But anybody that hasn't,
first-time customers only.
If you've been thinking about it, now's the time to use that code, go to the website, and try it out.
Hunt like a wolf.
One of the things too, this is not a product plug, but this has got me thinking about it with the new products we're coming out with this year. I know there wasn't one in your guys' box, but we're also coming out with a wind sensor. which in a situation like this is where I think a product like this, especially in that area too, will be killer. So wind data, right? Like wind is the most important thing
for sure
that we have as hunters to pay attention to. What do we all typically do before we go hunt? We pull up
weather underground,
whatever. You look at wind direction. Most of that wind data is only zip code specific.
For sure.
So
if that,
right?
Yeah.
So especially in areas like here where you guys are, western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota,
terrain.
And you have like big terrain, big bluffs, big hills. Like, I mean, the place that I hunt in western Wisconsin, it's 130 acres. There are going to be 5 different wind directions in the same day because of bowls and ridges and right.
Yeah.
So this is an issue that we've had as hunters forever. A lot of times I just don't go into those places because it's like, okay, I know that bowl swirls, right? And regardless of what the wind direction is, I'm not willing to risk it.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a product coming out this year. It's a wind sensor. It's about the size of this. It's tiny. It's got a 1/4-20 insert on the bottom, multiple different ways to mount it. And it Bluetooths to a camera.
No shit.
So anywhere within 50 feet of a reveal camera, it'll Bluetooth to the camera. And what it does then is you get instantaneous wind speed and wind direction readings wherever you put one of these things.
From the camera.
So it Bluetooths to the camera, and then you just read it through your app.
Okay. Is it connected to that camera like within the app, or is it's like its own device?
It's its own device in the app, but because the Bluetooth sensor itself is not, because the wind sensor itself is not sending a cellular signal, it's going to Bluetooth its data to the camera. The camera's actually what sends it to your phone. But what's really great about this is not only do you have instant, like precision, like pinpoint precision,
wind,
direction, and speed, but it also measures that wind direction at intervals throughout the day. So over the course of weeks, months, seasons, years, you will get historical wind data for that exact spot.
So you can build kind of a prevalent wind direction.
Wow. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
You know, it's $50 for this thing. So if you want to put 5 of these on a farm, like you can have precise wind data at any one of or multiple of your sets, especially if it's in an area that you know contradicts typical wind direction.
Well, we all have some of those areas that I can think of, the Scary Oak, right? I'm like, I cannot figure out what the wind is doing.
Yeah.
And we're not up there enough. It's like you only hunt it when you think, hey, the wind might be right today, and then it either was or it wasn't. And it's okay, well, why not?
Yep.
That would be super valuable for a place like that.
Yeah, I'm fired up on those things. I mean, I've had a few out testing, but I'm going to have quite a few of those.
I was going to say, dude, I mean, my spots where I have terrain, like I've literally got it's a limestone cliff in the middle of my property. So I've got a set of spots on the backside and a set of spots on the front side. And like anytime I go in from the wind, I'm like, okay, west wind. I get in there and it's like blowing straight south. I'm like, what the hell? And it's just because everything is just reflecting off of the terrain.
Yep.
So how would you run that? Go ahead. Sorry.
I say, or like the reason I brought it up is that situation of like those scrapes in areas where there's also food and water and being really careful not to blow them out. It's like, put a wind sensor there and you can be very precise about when you go in and when you don't. Like there's no guesswork.
Yeah, it said it's northwest, but it's been east all day in that spot. Don't go in.
So how would you run? I have 2 questions here. One, how would you run it? Would you just connect it to the same tree as the camera? More likely, does it run? It runs on its own battery source.
Yep. So it's got 3. The bottom flips open. There's 3 AA batteries that you put in there. It'll run for an entire season on 3 AA batteries. Like you won't. It's very efficient. It comes with, I don't know if you guys have ever used them, but we make a T-post mount for our camera. That's like a 1/4-20 ball head that you mount on one of those typical green T-posts.
Yeah.
It comes with that mount as part of it. And we suggest you mount it on a T-post in an as open of an area as possible.
So you can get all the wind directions versus a tree blocking it.
Makes sense.
Yep. And because it has the 1/4-20 insert, like I know people are going to mount them in a million different ways. They're going to put them in their tree stands, on their blinds, whatever. And
stick and pick or whatever.
You can do that, right? But what you have to be aware of is that any one of those things is going to block one of your wind directions.
You don't want that. You want it open.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on with that T-post mount on a T-post within 50 feet of my camera in that general vicinity where I know it will have the least things impeding wind getting to it.
Yep. I can already think of I don't even know the brand, but they're pretty simple stakes. It's very simple stake. It's like a 2-prong on the bottom and the 3/8 whatever on the top. You would just set that out away from the tree a little bit so it's not impeding it.
Correct.
Does it directionally? How does it know? Like, how does it know north?
Yeah. So, gosh, I wish I had one here. Essentially, it's this little square unit, and then in the middle of it, there's like this mesh. It's pretty open mesh, like cage that runs around the perimeter, and there's actually a ball in the middle of it, and that ball picks up not only on which direction the wind's coming, but based off of how much it gets displaced from what is zero for it, it'll tell you the
velocity.
speed.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So that's how it picks up on both direction.
So do you have to be cognizant of what direction it's facing when you stick it in the ground?
So you'll go through this setup process. It actually comes with, it's called a calibration cover. It's just this little nylon sleeve. So you'll go out in the woods, you'll turn it on, it'll pair to the camera, it'll walk you through on the app this like setup. Once you get to this certain point, it's going to tell you to put the calibration cover over it. It has its own e-compass inside of it. So it will orient itself to true north, and then it knows the direction.
Yep.
And with zero wind impacting it, that'll be its neutral because of the cover. Then you pull it off, and then it not only knows it's true north based off of the e-compass inside of it, but then any way that little sensor gets pushed and how much it gets pushed will tell you direction and speed.
Okay. Last question on that device there. What about thermals? Will it pick up on up and down movement?
It's not going to pick up on, so typically it'll read anything down to that like 2 to 3-ish mile an hour, anything that's like detectable from wind direction.
Okay.
A thermal's probably not going to impact it enough
that.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it would be cool to, in those same areas, that maybe when the technology gets there, also track what time do those thermals start to rise or fall.
But even there too, it's like, okay, if you have it on this limestone bluff that you just mentioned, right? It's like, you know what the thermals are going to do morning and evening.
For sure.
So you combine that with your now true knowledge of wind direction, right? And you have a pretty prescribed, you have pretty prescribed data, if you will. Where before it was like, told me wind was north. It's actually east plus or minus thermals, right? So you're taking at least one or two variables out of the equation.
My motive for even asking the question is to like argue with my dad. He's like, he'll hunt anywhere. In the morning, wind don't matter because thermals are rising. I'm like, on certain days after like 8:30 or 9 o'clock when the sun comes up, he's like, it's the morning, thermals are rising.
And there's a certain wind direction that or a certain wind speed that
absolutely
overpowers that, right? Too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
that's a cool tool
to know that more intimately is like I would. Like
I think that's a huge. Like I said, I have, especially in Kentucky. Ohio's okay, but Kentucky for sure. I mean, dude, I get toasted on those, and even still would be interested and tie this back to the cameras of like whether it's a scrape and or a feeder or whatever is. Some of the deer, just because I have lower deer densities, they're so infrequent to some of these spots. Even a feeder, it's like a deer may show up one every 3 or 4 days. And I can look at the weather and be like, why? But that wind direction I'm seeing is not accurate to what he's dealing with.
Bingo.
And so I want to be able to reference that and be like, oh, that's why. Like, you start to make the connection of 3 or 4 visits in a row, and it's like, I was going to hunt him on the complete opposite wind direction. He would have never showed up anyways.
Well, and I think, it kind of depends. Like, there's levels to this game, right? It's like 101 or 401. But I think there's like this misconception. It's like, okay, as hunters, we always want the wind in our face. It's like, well, yeah, that's great, but the deer wants the wind in his face too.
Sure.
So if every picture you got of that deer, you go reference the weather app, and the weather app says it was an east wind, you're like, okay, cool, I got him pinned.
Done.
But in that spot, it might actually be a northeast wind, and that might be why he's coming. And that, single degree of difference is going to impact where you set up on that deer and if you get away with hunting him or not, right?
Odds are it's a razor thin line,
totally.
too, because if it's in his favor, it's probably not going to be in your favor.
Exactly. And what you're trying to do is like, how can you make him feel like the wind's in his favor and still get away with hunting him, right? And that's why like this accurate data, like it's so important.
Understanding that piece right there, which we all figure out at some point, it'll cut your stand locations down to about a third.
Oh, 100%.
Or a quarter of what you thought you had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's spots you can set up and the wind is in your favor. You're just on the downwind side of whatever. But to understand that like they will only use that when it's advantageous to them and you, and those have to overlap and it has to be accessible and all these other things. It's like, okay, we don't have as many stand locations as we thought.
And if you're in an area with topography changes, it's not only the location of that stand, but what's going on 100 or 200 yards away from you that might impact what that deer does or how he gets to where you think he's going to get. And knowing that wind direction too is also important, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's come down to the point where in some of those spots in Kentucky, as much as I wish I didn't have to do it just because it's like tight wooded pinches basically, is like I almost feel like I have to be in a box blind. Because I'm like, I don't know how to sit in these spots and, you know, from looking at the data and being like, every time the wind is not what it says it is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not even a consistent pattern. It's not like, oh, it's always saying it's west when it really is southwest.
Yep.
No, it's like saying it's west and it was just south. Now it's northeast. And like, it's just crazy how they swirl through there. And, and part of it is the thermal side because, you know, in those areas specifically, there's such big shaded valleys and stuff, is that thermals change significantly depending on, like, you know, time of the year. Like, is it the early season? Is it, you know, November? And when that sun's setting. And so, you know, there's some of those spots in, I don't know, early November, like right after the time change, that like that sun is like, seems like it's going down behind the mountains at like 3:45, and all of a sudden thermals start to pull at 4:00, and you're like, "What the hell?
Yeah,
like what do I do now?"
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. I mean, I think the cameras themselves. I mean, I think the hunt space in general is plagued with this. Like every year, there's this new product, and it's a game changer, and it's the best thing, and blah blah blah.
Sure.
Like, this is the most excited I've been about a camera release. Like I can tell you that. And then some of these other accessories, right, that are like building out this ecosystem of these tools beyond just the camera, it becomes pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, like you said, like a few things you said, like we're not looking for anything. There's revolutionary wise as far as a strategy. It's like, you know, guys who are paying attention, you know, there's enough conversation and we've had them in our tool belt for long enough. That's like, most guys understand how to use cameras and be somewhat effective with them, even to the point of like ethics. You know, it's like how far do we want to go? Maybe I'll just I don't need to know absolutely everything. However, there are problems or have been that need fixed still. I think, you know, just across in the whole space. You know, battery life being one people always want to see improved on, access to better coverage. You know, which I guess is tied to that. But just to be able to use cameras in areas where we haven't in the past, and so. It's on us, I think, to decide how we want to use them from an ethics and from a strategy standpoint. And you guys are giving us like the best possible tool we could ask for. So
we're trying.
Thank you for doing that. You know, it is exciting. We're stoked to run them this year. So
awesome. Yeah, we're stoked to have you guys run them. And yeah, the ethics thing is interesting, right? And I think especially in the chair that I sit in, I get asked this a lot. You know, it's like, how far is too far? And I think it's an interesting question because frankly, like I agree with some of the concerns, right? Sure. Like at what point do we bastardize this pursuit that is so special to all of us?
Yeah, clearly some states like Iowa are making cell camera bans on public land and stuff like that. Kansas, no cameras on public land. Like they've thought that there's now a line that's been crossed for whatever reason. Maybe it's not to what we're talking about of like the purity of hunting and the pursuit as much as it is like privacy type stuff, because I think that's probably the primary motive from their side, but they're making the decisions for the hunters in those cases for sure.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's one of two ways we could go about it. Like we could bury our head in the sand. That technology is going to continue to evolve whether we participate in it or not. Or like we're in a unique situation because of who we are, the product we build, the size that we've become. We're like, we actually have a seat at the table now. And I would much rather have a seat at the table and help determine where this goes than be an innocent bystander.
Sure.
Right? And I'll give you one example of that. Like we have a feature in the app called HuntSync. And what that allows you to do is break the connection between your camera and the actual app itself. So in certain states like Montana, for example, you can have cameras out year round. You just can't be actively receiving information from that camera that aids in your hunt. So historically, to be legal, you would have had to go and take your cameras down during hunting season. Now you can just go into the app. You can turn on HuntSync. It timestamps when that connection was broken. So if you get stopped by a fish and game agent, you can just show them.
There
it's
it
like,
is.
Hey. And then instead of having to take your cameras down, when you get back to the truck or you get home, you turn it back on. It sends you all the photos it took while you were out there, but it wasn't aiding you. So we were able to have that conversation with fish and game agencies, right? And certain powers that be. So that's like, hey, let's work together. Like, we don't want to circumvent the laws, but like, what can we do to work together to make sure that our customers can be legal in your states and abide by your rules? So again, like, while the technology will continue to evolve, let's do it in a way that's beneficial to everybody, right? And I think that's the thing that I would rather be empowered to be in that seat and have the conversation than just be like, well, it's out of my control.
Right.
We'll see what happens.
No, I think that's a huge one. I mean, and that's where, I assume that other states are going to follow in some sort of thought process of like, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but how they want to regulate the technology. And to your point, I don't think they are, right? Even if they stop one thing, it's going to pivot right around it and come up with something new. I think some kind of technology like that makes complete sense, right? And I think even though, Iowa is probably the other one that's gray of like you can use it, but you can't use it in the aid of your hunting and stuff. And a lot of states have those gray type of rules. Like a solution of what you have where you can basically stop the sink, I don't think anybody would have problems with, right? I mean, that makes complete sense of like stop it when you go hunt, timestamps it, you get back out of the stand, you can resync it, now you got all your stuff. No different than really pulling the camera card, just physically you didn't have to go there.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the more, I think, interesting or maybe not as straightforward effects of just technology that's used in hunting, cell cameras probably being the biggest, and if I look at other, technologies, I would say digital mapping, is probably right behind it in terms of things that like shrink the world and allow us to access and monitor and be effective at hunting in multiple areas far away and stuff like that. It's like, dude, there's no doubt cell cameras have been the number one thing that give us the ability to monitor properties that are far away and know when to go and hunt them and to be efficient at that. Mm-hmm. And I think that because of that, it's undeniably, it has some impact on access. It's like, okay, I don't just hunt my back 40 and run regular cameras all year to be able to try to figure a pattern out, and I'm always a week behind. I now have a fleet of 60 cell cameras that I deploy over, and I'm talking like in reality, like we're doing this. We don't just hunt the one property. We hunt now 3 properties in states, and we're pretty effective at doing it. And in doing so, nationwide or statewide or whatever, people have been displaced because of that technology. Definitely not blaming cell camera. I'm not blaming online mapping. Frankly, I think crossbows from a weapon standpoint are the number one, contributor to that access dynamic. It's taken people out of the gun season and put them into a full length season where I can now justify
the investment
mm-hmm. to lease a piece of property out of state, to buy with some of my friends and stuff. So those are some of the ethics questions that I think are like really interesting. And frankly, there's not a right answer to it, because we've discussed like, hey, is the answer to ban cell cameras during the season in certain states or whatever? The downfall is like they are a great management tool, and I love using them. One of the best parts of my day is like checking the update to see what picture, because I love deer and I love the process of inventorying and continuing to see what's happening, and I'm learning as it's happening. So
I would assume also, I don't think it's necessarily decreased poaching, but I think it has decreased trespassing.
Yeah, as a positive,
100%.
For sure.
And I think it's easy to focus on those negatives, right? And I'm not saying I disagree with anything that you just said, because frankly, I do agree with it. I think there's also positives that we oftentimes overlook, like the poaching example. Mm-hmm. I think even look at, I have good friends in Ohio that were hit really hard with EHD last year. They were able to make a decision like, I'm not going to hunt my property or this property this year based off of what I've seen in my cameras and what's happened to the deer herd, right?
Yeah, valid management decision.
Totally. And even beyond that, even if you don't have a disease-ridden area, I think, even the average hunter is probably scaling more and more towards taking mature animals because they now know what's out there. When you don't know what's out there, you're much more likely to maybe shoot something that you wouldn't shoot had you known what the actual average age class of your bucks are. So I think there's also things that this technology is doing to help us move in a more sustainable growth trajectory and pattern for hunting.
I agree.
But we have to balance those things, right? Because that doesn't override these potential negatives.
Right. Well, but they're also not caused solely by the cameras, so like I think it's very important to do them in an order that makes sense. So like, Jeremy and I would look at, and it's not every state has to be the same, but like we talk a lot about Ohio, and in my opinion, its biggest issue is baiting. It's used almost 100% of the time in conjunction with cell cameras and crossbows and blinds, if you want to use that as a technology. So all these things, like in conjunction, or even during, now we have straight wall, rifle seasons and stuff. So it's like we've become so effective that it's like, okay, hey, not just from an ethics or purity standpoint, but like from an access standpoint, it is causing issues. Like in a lot of states, we're baiting, and I mean, cell cameras are legal in like almost everywhere. Baiting is one that's like, I think more controversial. It's legal some places, not others.
Yep.
That is the thing that when thrown into the mix of all the other technologies, that creates not only the ethics question, but that access dynamic that's it's severe. It's more severe in those areas. So like, I wouldn't say in those states, although, if it was the compromise, like, okay, I guess that will help. Corn without a cell camera is not as effective. However, I think like those corn piles are always your lowest hanging fruit. So I think it's very important that put the non-resident factor in there too. Skip and I will argue or banter about this anywhere where he's like, well, this non-resident quota is really important. I don't disagree that it is. However, I think it's very important to triage in an order that makes sense, and I think those corn piles are indefinitely your lowest hanging fruit. If fix one and see what happens.
Like obviously, Iowa as it sits, right? The non-resident quota is probably one of the more sensitive things. However, if crossbows were legal tomorrow, it would be null and void.
Yes, and the quota in Iowa only matters because every other state is mismanaging, or is making a few of these management prescriptions we feel are off base.
Yeah.
It would not be required if the other states would have a quality resource.
Correct.
Why? Who cares to travel to Iowa? What's so special about Iowa? It has mature bucks. That's the only reason.
Because of the regulations.
Because of how they're managed. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it is a. Well, let's put it this way. Most of these states aren't going to put the cat back in the bag, right? So the unfortunate thing is Iowa becomes one of the last strongholds, and I firmly believe it falls in the next 5 years. Not because of lack of efforts. It's just you can only hold back the dam so long. And so whether that's to Skip's probably faltering around the non-resident side or crossbows, I don't think it'll be baiting. It'll be non-residents or crossbows. One of those two things will be the demise of Iowa in the next 5 years.
Well, and the technology aspect of it too, like we're talking about cell cameras because of the company I work for. Mm-hmm. That's not technology is coming at hunting from so many different angles, right?
Like I honestly would argue that the mapping thing was bigger than cell cameras.
Yeah. Well, and
in a lot of ways
for sure.
Introduce drones and that technology, like whether that's from a scouting perspective, a tracking perspective, like.
Well, and what's interesting about the drone side is I would say that most hunters put the recovery out of the way from just purely drones use in scouting. Thinks that they should be banned.
Yeah,
that they're way over the edge. Nobody's saying that about cell cameras.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying, immediately, like cell cameras are so like over the top. But drones universally, because of how effective they are, have immediately become kind of at the forefront of, hey, we need to take a look at this before it gets out of control.
Well, and I also think most hunters would say from a recovery standpoint, they want them. You should be able to recover your deer. However, how do you regulate what happens from the time that drone takes off till it goes and finds that deer? Like, there's other things that happen, right? And like, I don't think you can regulate that, right?
No.
So under the guise of recovering deer,
why not? You should be able to. I think pretty easily. You just have registered pilots, and
it's just going to take a lot of government intervention to regulate it.
Yes, but not any more than exists in any other realm. All you have to do is register as a pilot and then record your flight
But to what
logs.
Gregg's saying is, like, if I go up and I'm looking for deer and I'm flying 12 properties over because that's where it went, I'm gaining a lot of knowledge of what's happening between flight of there and finding the deer. I'm going to know it and use it and talk about it.
Sure. And I don't know how you prevent that.
You can't.
Right.
You know, and so it is very much I'm very much in favor of it being used as a recovery tool. I think it's amazing.
Me too. Yeah.
But
It comes with
at the end of the
unintended
day,
consequences.
there are bad apples out there who will abuse the situation, regardless of how many regulations you put in. I mean, dude, we could go up on the mountain right now. There's 15 people that will be baiting this year during the season. It's never been legal in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Never. But they'll still do it because they don't give a shit. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Pure Wildlife Blends.
Man, what a critical component just to everything that we talk about, especially during these off-season months. You know, we're looking at and developing these different farms and trying to improve them from year to year. And whether that's food plots or different switch screenings or bedding areas, they all require a dedicated and thoughtful seed blend.
Yeah, so obviously Pure Wildlife Blends being Jeff and Jen Sturgis, we've built a great relationship with those guys. And really what we're seeing is a true testament to them picking the best varieties for these mixes. In fact, we're leaning on clover a lot more. The perennial plot power that those guys do was one of the best clover plots I've ever seen. From December to March, we had more deer in a single clover plot than I've ever seen. A lot of these sheds coming from that plot or right around it. Again, just a true testament to what these guys are creating at Pure Wildlife Blends.
No doubt. And so if you guys are looking for just a workhorse seed that the deer will really use the way that you want them to use it, you can use promo code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on the Pure Wildlife Blends website. To your, Jeremy and I are perpetually on opposite sides of the... I don't know what will happen with Iowa. I want to believe that they'll, I don't know, continue to do what they're going to do. I do think, though, that there is, maybe not a revolution, but like a lot of these states have been failing at or not meeting their own management objectives for long enough now that I think it's becoming, there's going to have to be some intervention. That they're continuing to do nothing is clearly not working. If your objective is retain hunters and kill more deer, and you're not doing that, eventually, something has to happen. So then we relook at what we've been saying all along is, okay, well, why is that? And I believe that the things that you've been prescribing to try to achieve those objectives are having the exact opposite effect. Making hunting easier is actually like eating away at access. Allowing us to, do these corn pile things is actually creating, again, less access and less ability to access, all these herds of does is creating, we can run down the list of, we spent 6 years profiling, like what is the issue in all of these states. And like everything, a lot of the things they're doing that they think is like fixing the issue or sustaining their time in office or whatever it is actually what's shooting them in the foot and causing us not to be able to meet those objectives.
Well, and from my perspective, like I always go back to like, why is that, right? Like, why is there that disconnect, right?
Well, it's fear of change is a big part of it. Also, there's always egos involved. There's also public.
It's the other stakeholder pressure. The ability. I mean, we have not talked to Iowa, maybe, and we've only heard from Jace. I would assume the uppers in Iowa DNR probably have a different mindset, but we've not talked to a single state whose number one goal isn't to kill more deer. Not a single one. It's everyone's goal.
And it's not that that was always the case. It's that we are at a point where we're not doing it effectively. At one time,
I don't think it's that we're not doing. I think it's just because of urban sprawl and everything that's changed.
No, it's that we're not doing it effectively.
We're killing as many deer as we have always killed.
I don't think that's true.
The numbers would say otherwise.
I know. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Otherwise, why is that your number one goal? Because of urban sprawl?
I think so.
I don't know.
Well, I think the access thing has a big part of that too. It's like
it's huge.
Oh, it's a giant part of it.
Trying to find places to hunt now.
Can't do it.
It's impossible.
Well,
and it's not because this whole family hunts it. It's because these guys lease it from out of state.
Exactly.
Because we have corn piles and cell cameras and the ability to hunt, and we're also doing it in 3 other states.
Yeah. I think the other thing, and it's just part of it, is I think it's extremely difficult for farmers to make a living anymore. And the insurance companies around farming are sick of paying deer damage, which isn't always deer damage. It's animal depredation.
I think that is addressable. I think that is an argument. Yeah. I think that's an argument that, at least in bait states, like I think Ohio would say, where to start with that one, I guess. On one hand, from a farming standpoint, crop damage is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And also farmers make, at this point, a fair amount of income by selling corn to farmers.
To deer hunters.
Yeah, to deer hunters, sorry. I think that because of the effects that baiting has on access to hunting area and also the deer herd congregations themselves, I think the crop damage loss number far outweighs
absolutely
the number that they're making back from selling bait. So I think in that scenario, they're shooting themselves in the foot. And also by doing that, because of what I said about the access thing, nobody's shooting those does, that's causing the crop damage.
Yeah, because they're able to be selective.
One guy is leasing the property and monitoring. And we're those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're a part of that system. Like, not that we want to be, but like, dude, we just leased 370 acres in Wisconsin. Like,
yeah,
I know who was hunting there before, and it's not like we actively displaced people, but like,
yeah, what are the odds of you and Brett going there to shoot does?
Low. Yeah, we're not going to shoot does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like 13 hours away.
Well, and it's a total, and again, it goes back to this access thing, right? And locations, but it's a totally different story when it's in your backyard.
Sure.
You're way more likely to shoot does and fill the freezer when it's very convenient for you to do so.
For sure.
When you have 5 to 7 days a year to go hunt this place, you've invested time and money, and like,
not doing it.
You're not doing it.
Yeah.
You're not doing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope I know that at least at the state level, there's a lot of conversations happening that have not been happening in the past, which are good. Things that single individuals are bringing up and having influence at the commission levels and board levels. I just don't want to see. I think one of the reasons that crossbows came in was because they thought it was going to, number one, retain more people and then bring new people into hunting. It didn't. It shifted them from guns to archery. Mm-hmm. Didn't really increase the amount of new hunters. That's substantial.
It's decreased.
Because there's nowhere for them to go. The next move they'll make, and it wouldn't be surprised that a state pulls this soon, is they'll open the season October 1st, and it'll be whatever weapon you want, and it'll close January 15th. And as long as you hit your quotas, they don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. They don't care what weapon you use. That's the whole point about they don't care that people can be more effective with crossbows than compounds. They want that. They want you to kill more deer.
It's like the end of the road that we've projected, if we continue down that, is just super rich guys and the government.
Yeah.
Versus the government.
Yeah.
Basically, because the government is going to continue to, like what you said, throw everything they can to try to get deer killed. And guys who can afford to, who still want this experience, will insulate themselves from that lack of regulation as much as possible by buying property and whatever means,
It's the European model. Right?
That's exactly what it is. Very little public land, and it'll be overrun because there's nowhere, it can't sustain that amount of people. And then blocks of private held by wealthy individuals who are preserving their experience.
Which would be such a shame for us to end up there, because there's more than enough leverage, I think, for state game agencies to be able to incentivize hunters to, number one, free up access by limiting technologies and things like that, and incentivizing us to kill more deer. I think guys would do it happily, and we'd help the state meet their management objectives, but they got to give us what we really want to, which is a part of the problem. I said, if I use baiting as the example of one thing that's causing a lot of this dynamic here and stuff. In the state of Ohio, I think if you just poll stakeholder, people who hunt, Ohio residents, non-residents, whatever, a majority would say we want corn piles because they feel it gives them opportunity. And it creates, how could I kill deer without it kind of a thing. Like, we're so reliant on it. However, if you just took that question off the table and somebody who understood the dynamic of deer herds and of hunters said, do you want a better hunting experience? 100% of people are going to say, well, yes, I would like that. Do you want, or is that associated in any way with an older age class of bucks, potentially, like bigger bucks? Yeah, we want that. And you didn't even ask the baiting question. You would say, all right, great, we're going to give that to you. And that'd be the first thing you would take.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the other thing that's interesting too is like, how are you looking at this, right? Because if you're looking at it from an age class of buck conversation versus just like a sheer deer number conversation, it's different, right? Like, Ohio's a great example. There's giant bucks in Ohio. It's a great place to kill a very large deer.
Yep.
But it's in a place where we're talking about all these things that would go against.
For sure.
Right? Eastern Minnesota is another great example. They have 2 rifle seasons, 2 gun seasons that overlap the rut. Mm-hmm. In terms of congregation of very large deer, that is still one of the best places in the lower 48 to hunt deer.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it depends like how you look at it too, because if you're convoluting this conversation with trophy potential, you're going to come out with a different answer or a different understanding than if you're just looking at it from the perspective of like total deer numbers, right? Or health of herd or ability to continue this pursuit into perpetuity in the future. So I think that's the other part of this conversation that gets misconstrued.
How do you think they're disconnected?
So,
because to me, I'm like, I think you can achieve both goals. Like, yes, there are still giant bucks in Ohio.
I agree with you. I think they're disconnected in how we look at it. I think people misconstrue because there are still giant bucks in Ohio or eastern Minnesota that what they're doing is working. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio will say, Mike Rex will sit here at this table and say, we're crazy for what we're talking about. Ohio has the best deer hunting it's ever had. And he believes it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I would argue it could be, at least 5 times better, probably. Probably. And you would solve the deer number issue by addressing some of those specific things. So yeah, it's not to say that there aren't great deer in Ohio. There absolutely are. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there could be way more for everybody to enjoy. And there also, we could achieve our management objectives of killing more does and having access for more people. That's the number one reason people quit hunting is they don't have places to go.
Well, and if you achieve those management goals, right, inherently your hunt will get better because more people will have more encounters with those older age class deer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But again, it's like naivety is bliss, right? It's like what you don't know, you don't know. And if you're one of those people that is having a good experience now.
Well, and I mean, that's the hand that the government is forcing, right? Like in New York, it's going to remain a 2-buck state, but the second buck is now going to be an earn a buck. And they're forcing you to kill a doe now because there's a problem, right? And how long until Ohio's in that same situation or, Kentucky's in that same situation to where there's too many does and the government's then going to, they can liberalize everything as much as they want. At some point, they're going to have to force you to do it because their liberalization tactics didn't work.
It is anecdotal, and so it can be challenging because I don't think there's a good metric. You mentioned Mike Rex would point to like the record books. I just think the dynamic around those things is just inaccurate. I don't think a lot of people are using that. So like the best thing you have to go off is experience. Guys who have hunted bucks in a certain state for a long time, and like truly, I mean, I'm saying this truly, like, and people can come out of the woodwork and say otherwise, but like Mike Rex is the only person that I have heard say that Ohio's hunting has gotten better in the past 10 years. Every other single person that I've talked to that is a cold-blooded killer in that state is like, yeah, we can't find them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. Don't get me wrong. Guys are killing big bucks.
Yeah.
I shot a 196-inch 4-year-old last year. Half an hour after my Amish neighbor shot it through the neck with a crossbow, right? And I gave it to the guy. But like, there's giant potential there.
Yeah.
That's what's so frustrating is you see what we're that close to being, and with the small regulation changes, I think we could be there.
Well, and to your point, I agree. It's like, how much better could it be, right? Like, I would prefer that was more of the conversation. Like
so much better. That's the good way to look at it. It's like all these states could be so much better.
You just have to put that in context too. Because I would say 5% of the hunting population in Ohio wants bigger bucks or older age classes.
No, it's way more than 5%.
There's no way. Those guys just want to kill a buck. And they want to kill a big buck, but that's a 3-year-old.
Everybody wants to shoot a big buck.
Yeah, that's a 3-year-old to them though.
That's because they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what a big buck is.
That is a big buck to them.
But it's not in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. It's way more than 5%. It's not 100%.
You think it's way more than 5% want like a mature buck in Ohio?
That's a sophisticated question.
That's why I'm saying it's only 5%.
If you dumb it down and just said, do you want to shoot a giant buck this year?
That's so subjective though.
At least.
Big is in the eye of the beholder.
I mean, dude, you could bring 100 people from Ohio, just random deer hunters in here. And if you said, hey, is that a big buck? They would all say, I'd say 95 of them say yes.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree.
And that's what, 150s?
157, I think.
So, I mean, that's I would say that
It's also in full velvet, which is pretty cool.
that's pretty doable.
I would also like
right?
to say it's a giant buck.
Right? That's pretty doable in the current state
Who
of
shot
Ohio.
that buck? That's a cool buck.
Right?
It's very cool.
I shot the buck.
I think
it's cool. He had a nut job going on. That's why he's in full velvet.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like a
Not problem.
Caitlyn Jenner type deal, but interesting.
But I'm just saying that like that.
You're right. It is subjective.
You're in a position where I'm not saying that it's wrong. Like the discussion we're having to improve it is the right decision to have a balanced age structure, to potentially relieve some access issues, all of the above. But to the average guy, he may think it's the best it's ever been, because guys like you and I are not killing them until they get to 5. And so, sure, he's seeing a pile of 150-inch 3-year-olds out there.
Yeah.
Which traditionally he may not have.
Yeah.
There may not be as many 200s, although there's a lot of them. And I can't explain why there's a bunch of 200s getting killed in Ohio every year, because everything should be working against that.
Right. Right.
I think the access thing will be the downfall, though.
It is.
Right, because
It is.
the average person who is not willing to put in the work or resources, right, that say the three of us sitting around the table they're just going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be tired of it.
Exactly.
Well, even that we have felt priced out
Totally.
of certain situations.
Same.
I'm like, how can I afford to
Can't.
And I get tired of it, right? It's like,
Yeah.
why am I going to spend all this time knocking on doors and networking and whatever? Because ultimately the outcome is typically the same.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go anywhere, right?
Mm-mm.
Where 10 years ago, that was a very different outcome.
For sure.
If you were willing to put in a little bit of effort and did a little bit of networking, you could find places.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the government,
we were there,
government's
dude.
too scared to make any changes to attempt to get back to that.
Yeah.
That's the problem that we're sitting in.
And it won't be because we're bitching about quality of age class or whatever.
It'll be deer numbers.
If it happens, yeah, it'll be because we're not able to meet our management objectives. And they're going to have to at some point look at why is that. And they either go one way, like you said, just total control, like just give them all CWD or something, or is what we're doing not
And
working.
unfortunately, I think they'll try the prior before the latter. They'll just say, any
Well,
weapon,
it's not so simply
go
done.
kill
Well,
them,
yeah, in that
do
case,
whatever. And then that won't work because, again, it'll create more insulation from the rich guys. And people still don't want to kill does. It doesn't matter. Unless you make them, they're not going to do it voluntarily.
You're probably not wrong. It's easier to look at it and say that. However, that does mean that this is the time to intervene.
Sure. It is.
So.
And we'll figure out in a state like Ohio with Mike, it's like, that's one of the main decision makers.
Well,
and
guess
he's
what?
Adamant
It's
that we're
not
wrong.
that hard to look around and say, which states do you think are retaining or growing in hunter numbers, or are happy, satisfied with the situation
Pennsylvania's doing a good job
of hunter retention?
of retention and improving the quality of the deer herd. I'd say I can be the Mike Rex of Pennsylvania and say it is the best deer hunting the state's ever had right now.
Mm-hmm. You're probably right. I would point to like states that actually have like recent statistics on, or that I'm aware of anyways, is obviously Iowa. It's like, we look at it and say, like, do they have like polling their residents? They're 87% satisfaction of how their hunting seasons are going.
They do have some problems though. EHD primarily,
Yeah.
not that they can control that, but there for sure is some deer population issues there.
Yeah. Well, also they're meeting their, and you're right. There's factors like EHD, things that kill deer that
But they're hitting their management
they're
objectives.
hitting their management goals too. So if those are your goals, I want to retain hunter numbers, and I want to, how about you look at a state that is achieving it? There's only 2 or 3 of them. I think Indiana, maybe as of recently, is another one.
Maybe.
Well, and historically, when management objectives are not met, unfortunately, incentivizing hunters is not typically the first
Shit, no.
thing on the methodology to fix it,
Sure.
right? And that's what scares me.
Yeah.
It's like, even though we know this could be a path to success and frankly one that helps the greater populace, typically it's like, what is the quick fix?
Yeah.
Right. And like, if we look at any species or population, even outside of whitetails, it's like, it has never come back to hunters to solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not given the opportunity. It's they're
Well,
paying
they think we're
snipers or
causing the
sharpshooters.
problem. They think we're
Exactly.
just-
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, there's And unfortunately, there's bigger problems too, like even that will affect us from a hunting side. Obviously, we talked about disease being one. The agricultural industry in a lot of these states runs the state, and they don't want any deer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want them. So they would rather them all die, right? I mean, we've seen it in Illinois where the agricultural side is now like supporting CWD, like because they're like, oh, this can kill all the deer. Great. Like, this is a problem. We should eliminate all the deer in these areas before it spreads. No, they're just looking at an avenue to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
There's places that want to introduce wolves because they think that they're cool animals. And I'm like, you realize that they will just wipe out the deer herd. Like, they'll just start annihilating it. And then your puppies as well and your cats and everything else in the backyard. And that's just from nature lovers who have no idea what they're doing. They just think that wolves should be back in areas. It's crazy.
Well, what's crazy to me is we've seen that play out in other places, and yet
You'd think
we
that would
still
help.
think that it's going to be different in X state versus Y state. And it's like, you have the data to understand and support that this is not the path to success, but yet we are going to repeat it. God knows why.
Yeah.
Right.
It is nuts. I mean, beyond the two uncontrollables, which would be the population of hunters in a state and the state landscape, like wooded versus farm, etc. Beyond that, the way that we manage deer via political boundaries is fucking crazy. It's just absolute bonkers. There is no difference between an Indiana deer and an Ohio deer. Simply the political boundaries. Frankly, if you look up the makeup of the state from a landscape level, pretty similar. If you look at the population, pretty similar. But geographically, we manage them ass backwards. And, one state could be fairly happy in what they have and progressing into a better deer herd. The other state could be going down the toilet.
You can get more microscopic than that, right? You're talking about, this area in Wisconsin that you and Brett are going. There's a county very close to that everybody in the deer hunting world knows.
Oh, yeah.
Buffalo County.
Yep.
Buffalo County is not any different than Crawford County or Trempealeau County or La Crosse County in terms of the deer herd itself, what the actual landscape looks like. It's just that single county had been managed differently for a long period of time, right? And that's why it got the notoriety it did.
No different than Pike County, Illinois.
I didn't
Exactly.
Same way.
100%.
Those areas were both managed differently?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, it mostly
Because of the notoriety of it.
Yeah, not on like an actual like government level,
No.
but it was a landowner level, private landowner level that bought into these management practices that increased the positive outcome of hunting in those counties for everyone. And that's why Buffalo County was the first place in the state of Wisconsin that saw $10,000 an acre way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Because of the potential.
It wasn't because of a landscape level
Exactly.
rule or regulation. It was because of the private land. That's Pike County was outfitters and everybody else doing that. That's no different than Adams County or Schuyler County. Like, they're all the same, but it was the notoriety of that.
Interesting.
No different on the landscape level regulations. It's just and given if you go back to what we were talking about private, rich guys versus government, you're going to have those microcosms of like insane deer hunting. Because it'll be 10, 15, 50 landowners who are able to afford the land who are managing for the same experience. And that area will be off the charts.
The situations seem so fragile. Like, obviously, most people would say neither of those areas are what they were at one time. And I think a lot of that has to do with hunter competition, and we could chime in about what drives it. I think technology is a piece of it, and anything that gives us an edge to be able to kill deer better than our neighbor, kind of a thing. It's very fragile in that the minute you start feeling well, if I don't shoot it, somebody else will, it's over. It's done, and so it's
the fear of missing out.
Well, it's also a reality. I mean, it is a reality that if I don't shoot it, somebody else will, kind of a thing. That is
that's a reality everywhere I hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's not a reality everywhere. I think there are places where people can confidently pass on deer,
But there's also the mindset of it surely ain't getting by if you kill it.
What's that?
That deer. If you don't kill it, it's surely not surviving. So
well, yeah, I mean, that's the basis.
So I mean, you have to be willing to roll the dice. That's the whole thing.
You do.
They're creatures, they die.
You do.
They will die at some point.
Yes.
So whether you kill it or you don't kill it, maybe 50% of the time your neighbor does kill it, but the other 50% of the time you get another year on it.
That's right.
Which also comes back to that herd dynamics thing,
It's
right?
huge.
So it's like, even if you don't kill that deer, somebody else might. If you've seen 15 other 3.5 to 4.5 year old deer that will be that deer next year, you're letting that deer walk on the chance, right? If that's the only deer that you've seen in that area, whether it be on camera or on the
You're not letting them walk.
you're just not.
Yeah. That's a big part about just knowing your area and what a realistic expectation is. Like, you can't go into an area saying, like, I'm killing a booner or bust. Yeah. And there hasn't been a booner there in 5 years. Like, you're busting every time. Like, it's just not going to work.
Not in a good way either.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
Not in a pleasurable way. Oh, shit. Well, cool. That good?
I think we're good. Did we miss anything on the 4.0 side of things? I think we covered it,
No, I think we hit it pretty.
So this podcast is dropping
21st, I think.
21st.
Yeah.
So they're out. They're live.
Coming out on the 16th.
So basically, Bass Pro, Tractor,
any of your major retailers,
major retailers. Are they buying it online too? Do you guys sell direct?
We do, yeah. So you can go to tactacam.com, find them there. We have our own Amazon store. You can find them there. Any of those major retailers, Bass Pro, Shields, Tractor, Walmart, they'll have them.
We have a promo code on your website.
Or we're working on one.
We're working on one? Yeah, there should be a promo code that works on one of those. Yeah, we'll have to square up with Kevin on it. It's a HUNTR. I think, where would that work if it existed? Would it be on the...
It would work on the website. So you go to tactacam.com, you'd put it in your cart. At checkout, there'd be a place to drop that code. And that's where you'd use it.
Cool.
We'll have Nick update it in the description once we make sure that's working.
And even a lot of local, like, mom and pop bow shops, outdoor sporting goods stores, we have really good representation with our local retailers too. So if they sell hunting goods, you very likely are going to be finding a reveal camera there.
How many reveals do you think you'll sell this year?
All of them.
A lot.
All of them.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I hope take my own bias out of this. I am just excited to see what even those folks who are agnostic about brand, right, feel about the improvements in these cameras, because I think it solves issues for everyone, regardless of what you used before, if you're partial to a certain brand or not. Like, if you can let a camera be in the woods longer without having to go to it, and you have the best quality photos and videos you've ever had, like, ultimately that's what a camera's supposed to do, right? And my hope is that people see the value in that, right? And we solve problems for people that they've had in the past, whether you were a reveal user or a competitor brand user.
Did we hit on the price points so the X versus the Pro?
Yep. X is, I don't think we did. X is $129, Pro is $159.
It's nuts.
Yep.
And then the solar.
So, we got another camera coming that will not release on the 16th, but it's coming a little bit later in August. It's called the Pro 4 Solar, which essentially is a Pro 4.0 camera. It's going to have the R5 lithium battery pack that we talked about. It comes on the camera, and then it has its own integrated solar panel. So it's an all-in-one package. Like, you take it out of the box, you put it on the tree, you're ready to go. And that camera will MSRP at $199.99. And the cool thing about these cameras, and just reveal in general, is we know we're not the cheapest camera. You can go find, I'll tell you this from my chair, you can go find a cheaper cell camera than us. What you have to take into account when you buy a cellular camera is a couple things. One, yes, the price of the actual camera. Two, what's the price of the data plan? Because that is something that is not typically advertised.
That was a big one that we did research on prior to our relationship.
And a lot of those cheaper cameras, within a few months of using them, you will make up the delta in what you paid at the cash register for that camera, and you're getting way less performance out of the camera. And then the third thing, right, which is a little bit of an intangible until it's in your hand, is reliability.
Yep.
Right? If you have to replace one of those cheaper cameras every year, every 2 years, versus getting 5, 6, 7 years out of a camera, and we've run all the numbers on this. We've taken all those factors into account. Like, we are without a doubt we are the lowest cost of ownership of any cellular trail camera. So just keep that in mind when you go to a store. You're at the cash register this year. Like, a lot more goes into it than just the price of. And our cameras are very competitively priced for what you're getting from a technology perspective. Yeah. But if you add in what the actual cost to run the thing is for subscription, and then the reliability factor, like, it's almost like the Toyota of trail cameras, right? Like people buy Toyotas because you're going to get 300, 500,000 miles out of them. And
That's
they're
what I'm
super
driving
reliable.
out there, both of us. Yeah,
you see them both out there now. Yeah.
And you just know that, right? Like
Just
that's
gonna work.
Exactly. And that's like really what we aim to be in our space too, is like, it's just the thing that works.
It's awesome.
It's a great thing to aspire to be, is the Toyota of trail cameras.
That's a good one. Well, dude, we appreciate you flying in and having it in person. It definitely makes these things a lot smoother and more engaging on that side. And we appreciate your all's partnership with us. We're excited about it this year and really excited to get some of the 4.0s out. Maybe by the time this airs, we may have some land in Wisconsin on Jared and Brett's lease. That'd be pretty cool.
I appreciate you guys having me, man. This has been fun. We'll have to do it again.
Well, we appreciate everyone listening to this one. Make sure you check out Tactacam.com or your local retailer for some of the newest 4.0s, and we will catch you next Tuesday night.
Later.
Take me